A very good morning, everybody. Today is the third day of our presentations. Semester 2 students are making their presentations on English literature. Today it will be on the literature published between 1900 and 1950. Let us have a look at the topics on which today we will have the presentations. Bhargav will start with the presentation on the Westland as a cinematic vision, how Eliot's poem anticipates modern film editing. The Westland, you are taking it as a title, so you have to put it in single inverted comma. Trupti will be making it on fashioning identity, how Orlando and today's fashion industry challenge gender norms. Uh, all the keywords should be capitalized. So identity should be capital I, industry should be capital I. Kumkum, the role of time and memory in Orlando, a challenge to linear history. Orlando is the title, so it should be in single inverted comma. KHUSHI RAVIYA, Orlando and the evolution of gender fluidity in literary history. Okay. BHUMI on Woolf's Orlando versus Vita and Virginia, a love letter in fiction. SANKET on Yeats's view of the future, a study of the second coming. Yeats apostrophe S you have to add, okay? And a study of the second coming. The second coming is the title, so it should be in single inverted comma. KRUPALI, the second coming, a prophetic vision of politics, religion, and crisis. DIVYA, War, Art, and Immortality, W.B. Yeats's philosophy of poetry. DHRUVIKA, the role of women in The Great Gatsby. RUTVI, the crisis of truth and misinformation. Nick Carraway as an unreliable narrator in the post-truth era. MAKWANA on The Great Gatsby as a symbolic novel. Parthiv, Fitzgerald's unveiling of the American dream in The Great Gatsby. KHUSHI, a comparative analysis of Daisy Buchanan and Lady Brett Ashley. Jai, the role of automobiles as symbols of status and carelessness in The Great Gatsby. Jyoti, Gatsby as a tragic hero. And the last one in the morning session will be by Krishna Vara on From Words to Walls, how language reinforces class distinction. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation.
So hello everyone. Today's my topic is about the wasteland is a cinematic vision. How Eliot's poem anticipate modern film editing. Here is the table of content. First, we will going to discuss introduction, then research question and hypothesis, the fragmented modernist poem, then Sergei Eisenstein, Bela Blaz, and Andre Bazin's theory of film structure, then filmic structure in the wasteland, then postmodern film and non-linear storytelling, then cinematic parallels in visual technique, then emotional and psychological impact of fragmentation, the digital age and fragmentation, then conclusion. So introduction, T.S. Eliot's poem The Wasteland, which was written in 1924, 22 is a modernist masterpiece that reflects the post-World War One disillusionment through fragmentation, shifting voice, and cultural decay. Its innovative style and non-linear structure make it one of the most influential poem of 20th century. So my research question is, how does T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland employ the fragmented narrative techniques that prefigure cinematic editing style, and what impact has this had on both modern film and digital storytelling? My thesis will be T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, a piano read fragmentation, disjunction, and montage techniques that prefigure cinematic innovation, particularly Soviet montage and postmodern film aesthetics. Eliot's poem anticipate non-linear storytelling, jump cuts, and montage sequences seen in film from Eisenstein to Lynch. His experimental approach serves as a visual and intellectual model for fragmented storytelling that defines modern cinema. The fragmented modernist poem. So, The Wasteland is a landmark of a modernist poem that reject the linear narrative way of storytelling, and it uses the fragmentation of collage-like images. It shows rapid shift in voices, time, and setting to create a disorienting yet profound experiences. For example, April is the cruelest month, subverts the traditional springtime renewal, jarring the readers like a jump cut in cinema. The Madame Sosatre's sequence function is the intercut flashback, blending past and present. The Unreal City passage, shifting between individual voices, mirrors a fragmented montage sequence. Then connection to film editing. Eliot's abrupt transitions resemble jump cuts in cinema, puzzling yet engaging the audience. The poem's rapid juxtaposition of high and low culture resembles Eisenstein's montage technique of intellectual collision. Sergei Eisenstein, Bela Blas, and Andre Bazin. Soviet montage theory by Eisenstein. So, Soviet montage theory was basically a type of theory that where some different type of images are put together to create emotional and intellectual effect. Eliot's abrupt images shift function similarly juxtapositioning past and present, myth and reality. For example, Setstone's passage, sudden invocation of the war dead, works like a delicate montage force forcing reflection. Then Bela Blaz's theory of close-up. Close-up in film isolate moment of psychological intensity. Eliot's poetic vividness, for example, typist scene in the fire sermon, function like a close-up, capturing isolated existential moment. And Bazin's realism versus montage debate. Bazin favored deep focus realism over montage. Eliot blends both montage like fragmentation yet a deep psychological realism about post-war illustration. Filmic structure in the wasteland, Eliot's poetic montage. The poem's rapid shift in imaginary and tone mimic cinematic montages. The typist lonely moment versus Tiresias watching resembles cross-cutting between two scenes. For example, the transition from the fire sermon to death by water mirrors a hard film cut, forcing the audience to infer a connection. So we can see that in a poem how Eliot uses different type of images and different type of shifting points to put together to create a meaning, and that is not provided clearly by him, but he leaves it on the audience or the readers. The recurring passages like "Hurry up, please, it's time" function as intertales in silent films, punctuating meaning. Cinematic imagery. Eliot's Unreal City resembles Metropolis, which was released in 1927, where urban modernist is dystopian and fragmented. The London Bridge falling down passage evoke the kind of symbolic destruction used in war films. Postmodern film and non-linear storytelling. Postmodernism in film. Films like Pulp Fiction and The Memento employ the non-linear storytelling, mirroring the wasteland's structure. So this type of movie, there is no clear storytelling, but there are some different type of images shifting point to create some meaning, which can we see in the Pulp Fiction's fragmented timeline forces the audience to assemble meaning, just as Eliot's readers must. In Momento, reverse chronology reflects the poem's cyclical repetitive nature. Cinematic self referentiality Mulholland Drive, which was released in 2001, and Charles Kaufman's Syndicate New York play with narrative instability, much like Eliot's poem. Then cinematic parallels in a visual technique. Kubrick's slow isolated shot, 2000 in 2001, A Space of Odysseys, was released. It isolates visual moment of existential depth akin to Eliot's poetic tubulex. The the lines from T.S. Eliot's "I will show" poem, "I will show you fear in a handful of dust" line works like a close-up on an objection of existential meaning. Goodwood's jump cuts in the Breathless. Goodwood's Breathless, which was released in 1960, employs the jarring jump cuts just as Eliot's jump between the time voices and images. The shift from Madame Sosatris to a war-torn London feels like a hard cut between two disconnected realities. So we can see that there is no particular scenes. One cannot imagine what would be the next scene or the situation in next passages. The emotional impact of fragmentation. The wasteland evokes a disorientation, alienation, alliteration, and psychological distress, much like fragmented films. Mulholland Drive, a persona create an experience of a fragmentation similar to reading Eliot's poem, forcing the viewer into an unstable narrative. Poems fragmentation make the audience feel anxiety, intrigue, loss. This mirrors Eliot's world of post-war trauma and existential uncertainty. The digital age and fragmentation. Social media like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram embrace the AI-generated storytelling, embrace the fragmented narratives, echoing the Eliot's technique. TikTok's short clips, YouTube jump cut heavy logs, and AI-driven content create a collage-like storytelling, much like The Wasteland. Just as Eliot's poetry showed the confusion of a broken world after the war, social media's fast and fragmented content reflects the overwhelming and chaotic nature of the digital age. So, in conclusion, The Wasteland function as a montage film, weaving the disjointed images into meaning. Eliot's poetic vision shaped the modern storytelling, influencing both cinematic and digital fragmentation. The reader's role is like that of a film editor, piecing together meaning from fragmented moments. Here are some references, and now you are free to ask questions.
So, Bhargav, my question is why does Eliot use multiple voice and languages in poem?
To strengthen his point that there is no such a one point or a state that has this impact of a war, but in everywhere there is the same kind of situation.
Bhargav, my question for you, why is the poem structure so fragmented?
He uses a different type of images to show the world like how it is a situation, and what are the type of feeling that everyone of this that type of people were facing, and to strengthen his point that how his reader should also know that this type of situation or problems they were facing. Thank you.
So hello everyone. Today is my topic of presentation, questioning identity, how Orlando and today's fashion industry challenge gender norms. So here are my personal information, then table of contents. And now my research question is, how does fashion serve as a tool for challenging and redefining gender norms in Orlando and contemporary society? And the hypothesis is fashion is not merely an aesthetic choice, but a powerful medium for deconstructing societal gender norms. Woolf's Orlando and modern gender fluid fashion both demonstrate that clothing influences identity, perceptions, and social treatment that ultimately challenging traditional gender binaries. What this presentation will explore, how Virginia Woolf's Orlando uses fashion to challenge gender norms, then the concept of androgyny and its role in shaping identity, then how fashion reinforces or disrupt gender expectations, then connection between Orlando and modern fluid fashion trend, and some key perspective from the scholars like Burns, Pickford, Kevola, Osofsky, and Presto. Fashion as an identity, clothing and clothing perception and power. In the novel Orlando by Virginia Woolf, we have seen that when he walks up as a female, it is a sudden change, and when she become female at that time also, when she was a male at that time, she was not facing all those problems and hurdle when she become women. Wolves present a gender as a fluid with Orlando's transformation, like it was a sudden transformation. So it shows that gender is a kind of performative, and showing that identity is not bound by any biological but by societal construct. Clothing dictates Orlando's treatment in society. Despite being the same person, Orlando experiences vastly different freedom and restriction as a man and woman, as she faces his inheritance problem of his house. This was not happen with when she was a man. And the hurdles she was facing after becoming woman. The novel critiques that how clothing enforces societal social roles rather than reflecting instinct identity. So this anticipates that today's gender fluid movement, where rigid distinctions between men's and women's clothing are dissolving. So if we see the modern connection, trans, non-binary, and gender fluid identities echo Orlando's shifting self perception, where clothing alters how one is viewed. So fashion is nowadays embracing a gender fluidity, like we many brands moving towards unisex designs, like the dress is unisex, means there is no any boundaries between that this will wear by men, or this will wear by women. So both can wear, there is no relation between the gender. Then for examples, genders, non-conformist artists like Eliot, Vita, Menon emphasizes that fashion should transit rigid gender norms. We see some brands like Gucci, Harris Reed, and Palermo, Spain, that reinforces the idea that identity is a self-defined rather than dictated by tradition. If we see the origin of and evolution of androgyny word, it is from ancient Greek to modern psychology. Term is originated from ancient Greek word androgynous, that meaning having both male and female characteristics. And then, while the concept of androgyny has ancient root, but the term androgyny as a psychological construct, and the person who first popularized it is Sandra Bem in the early 1970. So Orlando and power of androgyny. So Woolf present a gender as a fluid, showing that identity is shaped by society, not biology. Orlando's treatment changes based on clothing, despite being the same person. So this shows that how society is treating when gender is changed. So the novel critiques that attires enforces social roles rather than reflecting instinct identity. And we have seen that modern connections like here artist Alok Menon and Harris Reed and Gucci's examples are here. So androgyny as a lifestyle, if we see, so androgyny is more than a fashion trend, because it is shifting, or it is representing the cultural shift and the perceptions of people towards the identity of a particular person. It's represent the cultural shift towards authenticity and self expression. So rigid gender roles limit our individuality, while gender fluid fashion challenges binary norms. And unisex uniforms and other brands like Telfar echoes Lata, and other celebrities like Jendia, Jaden Smiths, Harry Styles. They all are this all normalize gender fluid style in a mainstream fashion. So fashion as a tool for gender liberation today, we can see this lens also. So if we take up one Indian example of a film like PK, so it is also questioning like PK is an outsider alien who does not understand human-made customs, and including gender clothing and all these things, but with naive yet profound questioning of why things are the way they are, mirrors how fashion can be tool to deconstruct the challenge, deconstruct and challenge societal norms. So it is much like the Virginia Woolf's Orlando does in literature. If we see the example of Ranveer Singh, also she also many times wears the wear the clothes of gender fluids also. But here question is also that he's wearing all the days, or he's just for kind of promotion and all the things, though that question also relevant. And if we see the politics of fashion, like who gets to define gender. So Orlando critiques that who has the power to define gender norms, clothing, and society or individual. This is the question which can arise. And then other discussion question like, if gender is performance, should fashion brands be leading the movement or individual? So both the fashion brands and individuals should play a role to this transformation or shifting cultural view. So here one example of this Gippius, he's a Russian writer. He's defined gender norms shifting from masculine to exaggerated feminine style. Her fashion mirror her political defines, opposing both Tsarist and Soviet rules. So in a conclusion, we can say that Virginia Woolf's Orlando and modern fashion both reveal that identity is a fluid, shaped by our societal expectation rather than biology. So key perspective of Burns, then Pickford, then it connects that Orlando to androgyny and camp aesthetics, showing fashion as a tool for gender discourse, where clothing is a central to self definition. So Osofsky also reinforces that androgyny is not just a style but a cultural shift. Together, this perspective show that fashion is both a reflection of identity and a force that actively reshape it. So here are my references. Thank you. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
So, Trupti, my question is what roles does the historical context play in shaping the gender roles, gender norms Orlando encounters?
So basically, when Orlando in different ages we have seen. So before he was before she was a man, she was treated differently, and after also she was treated differently. So it shows that it is a societal made thing. So it signifies is that.
So, Trupti, my question is, how does Woolf use Orlando's clothing to question the rigidity of gender role?
It shows that it also defines that our gender, but identity should be a main focus rather than the changing thing. So by just sudden change from or transformation from men to women, it sudden change also showing that it is just a thing. We should be our focus should be main on the person's identity rather than the gender bias thing. So clothing plays the significant role in that also. Okay, thank you.
So hello everyone, I'm KUMKUM HIRANI. In today's presentation, I'll discuss about the role of time and memory in Orlando, a challenge to linear history. Here academic information, table of content. Here my research question that how does Virginia Woolf portrayal of time and memory in Orlando challenge traditional linear understanding or history? Hypothesis: Virginia Woolf's Orlando challenges the linear understanding of history by portraying time and identity as a fluid. And through the Orlando's movement across a century and a shift in gender, Woolf highlight the subjective and fragmented nature of both personal identity and historical experience. She suggests that history, like a memory, is not a fixed chronological sequence, but a malleable narrative shaped by perception, cultural context, and the passage of time. Introduction. Orlando, which is published in 1920, is a novel by Virginia Woolf that challenged the traditional historical narratives. The story follows Orlando, a character who lives for over 100 years, experience different historical periods without again in a conventional way. Woolf blend fictional and biography to critique the rigid structure of history. Time in the novel is fluid, subjective, and shaped by memory rather than chronological progression. The novel explores identity, gender, and historical transformation through the Orlando's journey. So Virginia Woolf introduced a new way the novel that how we can present the novel like modern time. It is good that they should present the time not chronological like. Yeah. So Virginia, here are the basic information about that Virginia Woolf. She was born in 25 January 1882. She was died in 28 March. She was a novelist, essayist, literary critic. She was a writer during the modernism. Her key themes in her writing style is a time, memory, feminism, identity, consequences, and the fluidity of history. Some of his major works are like Mrs. Dalloway, To the Lighthouse, A Room of the One's Own, and Orlando. Uh, here are the topic that Woolf's concept of the time in Orlando, that how Orlando change in different also in a different, and she when the novel was started he was a man, and how novel in a mid she was become a woman. So it's about the concept of time that Orlando lives in many ages, Elizabethan to modern age. So during that time, how many changes are comes, and it's all about that. Like Orlando reject a traditional time. Orlando lies over 300 years, but barely ages. So here the Orlando not follow the chronological time based on Orlando's emotion and experience. Time was changes. Time is fluid, shaped by emotion rather than the clock. Orlando shifts between different centuries. It remains the same person, blurring of past, present, and future in narration. Some of example from the novel, the Great Frost, like Orlando fall in love with Sasha, and times feel like a standstill. But when she betrayed him, as we know that in the novel, Orlando and Sasha both are in love, but when Sasha betrayed Orlando, he and Orlando become men to woman in 18th century. Like Orlando wakes up after a deep sleep for a days. 8 years have passed. In 19th century, like Victorian society forced Orlando to act differently, but remain the same insane. Here are the line that time unfortunately through its makes animal and vegetables bloom and fade, has no such a simple effect upon the mind of memory as a narrative force. Orlando replaces traditional chronological with memory-driven storytelling. Events from a different century are remembered as if they just shaped. Orlando's identity is shaped by memory rather than linear time. Past and present blend together. History is experience, not just remember. So it's about that Orlando was changed men into women, but he also remember his past. So yeah. Some example from the novel, that is Sasha betrayal affection Orlando even in the 17th century. Orlando recalls the time as an ambassador in Constantinople, even centuries later, as if it is just happened. Here, like that, memory runs her needle in and out, up and down, hither and thither. Orlando's gender and disruption of linear history. Orlando wakes up as a woman in the 18th century, but remain the same person. So when Orlando wakes up like man to women, he was like he was a woman, but his inner side he feels the same as a man. There is no changes for him. It's only like biological changes are happen. Woolf challenges the idea that gender is biological, fixed, instead present as a fluidity. The novel explores how society treats Orlando differently after the transformation. So, in the Orlando lives in many ages, like Elizabethan, Victorian, modern era. So in all the time, some rules are changes, but women's are also treated the same in all ages. They are faced so many restriction to compare the men. So traditional historical narrative assume that gender role are static. Woolf disrupt his idea. The transformation highlight how gender is a social construct shaped by culture norms rather than inherited. So also we are like men or women. This identity is also given by the society. As Orlando become a woman, but also his inner side he feel like a man. some example like before transformation, Orlando enjoy power and freedom. His service in Queen Elizabeth, its court inherits property and writers. When Orlando was a man, that time he have properties like home and other things, but when he transfer men into women, he was he was not have any property. After the transformation as a woman, Orlando cannot own property and must navigate the restrictive gender norms. The role of biography and fiction in historical narratives, like Woolf mixed the real history with fiction, making Orlando both a biography and a fantasy. Traditional biographies tell the true story about real people, but Orlando is a playful fictional biography. And so Orlando is a biography, but also considered as a fictional biography. Virginia Woolf was Orlando because she was based on Vita sequel. But when she write, so Orlando is a fictional character, not a real. So the novel challenges how history is recorded, who writes it, and whose story are told. Orlando lives for over 300 years, which is impossible, showing that history is not always a factual. The novel questions whether history is a real truth or just someone's vision of events. Like, for example, Orlando meets Alexander Pope, but the conversation is completely imaginary. Queen Elizabeth I is shown as a big in a love with Orlando, but this never actually happened in the history. Like time, history, and social transformation. Woolf present history as a constantly changing, but some social structure like gender inequality remain the same. Orlando lies through the multiple centuries, witnessing shift in politics, culture, and gender roles. The novel questions whether people truly change with the time or if they remains the same inherently. Woolf critique the male-dominated history and how it often excludes women's contributions. Orlando's long life highlight both progress and ongoing social limitations. For the example, like Elizabethan era, Orlando is a noble with power and prestige. In 18th century, Orlando now women lose social privilege and experimented to marry. Victorian era, like Orlando struggle with the rigid experimentation placed on a woman. Also, we know that Orlando like many ages, and every ages have some kind of different thing was happen. Some rules are changes in all ages. Conclusion, like Virginia Woolf's Orlando challenges traditional notion of time, history, and gender by portraying a protagonist who lived for over 300 years without again. The novel criticizes the male-dominated historical narratives, exposing the fluidity of identity and the social construction of gender. Orlando's transformation from men to women highlight how society imposes rigid role despite the personal continuity. By blending fictional with reality, Woolf questions history, reliability, and reveal the persistence of gender inequalities, making Orlando a timeless exploration of identity and societal expectation. Here are the references, and thank you. If you have any question, then ask freely.
So Kumkum, my question is, how does Woolf's idea of time connect to to modernist writing?
So, according to my perspective, that Virginia Woolf like write a modernist writing, because we know that Orlando not follow the chronological time in his work. If we see some historical work, so in that they use like a chronological time, and Orlando lies over 300 years. So So it is a fictional character and who live many ages. So it's a Woolf's idea, like a modernist writing.
Kumkum, my question is, how does Orlando show Woolf's feminist ideas?
So that we can find that in the novel Orlando. When Orlando was a man, he was not any kind of a restriction, but when he become a female, so in every age is like Elizabethan age, Victorian age, in all ages, he was face many difficulty for as a woman, and have many restriction by the society. So yeah, thank you. This is from my side.
Hello everyone, myself KHUSHI RAVIYA, and my today's presentation topic is Orlando and the evolution of gender fluidity in literary history. These are my personal information, table of contents, research question. How does Orlando's depiction of gender fluidity in literary history and how has it influenced modern discussion of identity in literature and gender studies? Hypothesis. The depiction of gender fluidity in literature has evolved from a tool of disguise or necessity in early texts to a more instinct and celebrated aspect of identity in modern literature, with Orlando serving as a pivotal transition that redefines gender as fluid, performative, and unrestricted by time. Introduction. Virginia Woolf's Orlando, published in 1928. Its groundbreaking novel that redefines gender as a fluid and ever changing. Unlike earlier texts where gender transformation was temporary or tied to external circumstances, Orlando presents it as an intrinsic part of selfhood. This present examines how Orlando fits into the broader literal history of gender fluidity by comparing it with key characters from classical mythology, Shakespearean drama, romantic literature, and modern works. Gender fluidity. This definition given by Kate Bornstein: gender fluidity is the ability to freely and knowingly become one or many of a limitless number of genders for any length of time and any rate of change. Gender fluidity recognizes no borders or rules of genders. Gender fluidity refers to the ability of a character to shift between genders, to exit outside the traditional male female binary. According to Judith Butler's theory of gender performatively, she states gender is a repeated stylization of the body, a set of repeated acts within a highly rigid regulatory frame that congeal over time to produce the appearance of substance, a concept reflected in Orlando. Orlando's influence on modern literature. Virginia Woolf Orlando, published in 1928, a groundbreaking novel of gender transformation, revolutionized gender in literature, challenged fixed gender identities, foundation for queer and feminist theory, inspired discourse on gender fluidity. Modern gender fluid characters influence the left hand of darkness and ministry of utmost happiness. Aesthetic and philosophical impact redefined gender as a fluid evolving experience. Tyresia is a example like Orlando, a mythological icon of gender fluidity, transformed by the gods living as both a man and woman. Challenges fixed gender identity, symbolizing fluidity and dual experience, used in myth to explore man and female perspective. Early literally a precursor to gender fluidity influencing Orlando reflect the ancient view of gender as mutable rather than biological fixed. Renaissance gender fluidity. William Shakespeare's Rosalinda, character of As You Like It, published in 16,000, disguises herself as Ganymede using gender as a perform to navigate societal constraints. Challenge rigid gender roles, embracing fluidity for autonomy and expressions. Viola, example of 12th night. Another Shakespearean figure who cross dresses blurring gender boundaries. Aesthetic and theoretical exploration of identity, influencing later works like Woolf, Orlando. Medieval and early modern periods gender fluidity. Joan of Arc, a literary and historical icon. Uh, a peasant girl who led the French army to victory during the Hundred Years' War, defining gender norms by dressing as a male warrior. Executed for heresy, later canonized as a saint. Mm, In article Sackville West quote about her, a disorderly woman dressed as a man. Legacy in gender and identity, symbol of gender nonconformity, breaking societal expectation and femininity, an enduring literary and historical figure influencing later works including Virginia Woolf's Orlando. Joan of Arc in literature. She has been immortalized in literature by several writers like William Shakespeare. In Henry VI, Part 1, portrays Joan as a warrior and a mystic, but present her controversially blending history with English propaganda. George Bernard Shaw in Saint John, a modern play depicting Joan as a heroic visionary figure and an early feminist who challenges authority. Mark Twain, in a personal recollection of Joan of Arc, a historical novel presenting Joan as a noble and virtuous leader different from his usual satirical works. The Victorian era and gender restrictions. Jane Eyre asserts independence but conform to societal gender norms. Uh, Jane does move from silence to speech, thus providing a model of feminist resistance and liberation. Uh, In Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, the protagonist asserts his independence while navigating the constraints of Victorian gender norms. Critics have interpreted Jane's journey as a model of resistance to the era's conceptions of woman's role. Late Victorian era and gender fluidity. Dorian Gray. In the picture of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde uh, uh, portrayed like Orlando character. Aestheticism and transformation blur identity boundaries. Internal youth as a metaphor for fluid self-perception and moral ambiguity. Challenge the Victorian ideals of masculinity and beauty, aesthetic represent of identities and duality, influencing modern gender fluidity discourse. 20th century and beyond gender fluidity in modern literature. Stephen Gordon, this character from The Well of Loneliness by Redcliffe Hall, early literally represented of gender non-conformity, challenge heteronormativity, explores identity struggles in a rigid society. Aesthetic and psychological depth influences later queer and gender fluid narratives. Foundation for modern discussion, precursor or to Orlando and contemporary gender discourse. Gender fluidity in modern literature. Ursula Kelly Guin, example of the by the left hand of darkness, in depicts an androgynous alien society. Gender as fluid and contextual. Individuals shift genders, challenging binary norms. Aesthetic and philosophical exploration examines identity beyond human constructs. Influence on gender discourse inspired later feminist and pure science fiction. Conclusion. Virginia Woolf's Orlando revolutionized the portrayal of gender by presenting identity as fluid and ever changing. Throughout literary history, from Tiresias and ancient mythology to modern works, writers have challenged rigid gender norms, reflecting evolving societal perspectives. Orlando not only influenced feminist and queer theory but also paved the way for contemporary exploration of gender fluidity in literature. Today, gender indefined remains a central theme of storytelling, providing that literature continues to shape and redefine our understanding to self and identity. These are my references. Thank you. If any question, free to ask.
Kushi, my question is, what makes Orlando's transformation different from other gender fluid characters in literature?
Orlando is a unlike tragic, and Orlando's transformation is joyful, unrestricted, and emphasizing self-exploration and freedom.
So, Kushi, my question is that how does Orlando influence modern discussion on gender?
It led to groundwork for contemporary gender theory and non-binary identities in literature, and also inspired discussion on trans. Thank you. This is from my side.
Okay, so very good morning, everyone. This is BHUMI MAHIDA. Today I'm here with the presentation on Woolf's Orlando versus Vita in Virginia, a love letter in fiction. These are my academic information, table of contents. So let's begin with the introduction. Virginia Woolf and Vita Sequel-Wells share a deep and complex relationship, blending friendship, romance, and intellectual admiration. Their bond greatly influenced Woolf's writing, particularly Orlando, a biography, which was directly inspired by Vita's life, personality, and struggle with gender and identity. Woolf even dedicated the novel to Vita, making it a unique literary love letter that immortalized her in a fiction. Beyond personal tribute, Orlando explored key themes such as gender fluidity, such as the protagonist seamlessly transform from male to female and challenging fixed ideas of identity. This novel also play with history and biography, blending real historical figures and events with fantasy, questioning the reliability of traditional life writing. Hypothesis of my presentation is Virginia Woolf's Orlando serve as a literary love letter to Vita Sackville West, blending elements of biography and fiction to explore themes of gender fluidity, sexual identity, and feminist critique, while also functioning as a satirical commentary on a societal norms and historical contents. Research question is: how does Virginia Woolf's Orlando function as a both a personal tribute to Vita Sackville West and a broader feminist and satirical critique of gender identity, sexuality, and historical narratives? So let's discuss the background of this Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West. So Virginia Woolf was born on 1882 and died on 1941. Was a British modernist writer, best known for novels such as Miss Dalloway and To the Lighthouse and the Orlando biography. She was a key figure in the Bloomsbury group. As we know that there were two groups, Bloomsbury group and the Fabian Society. So this Virginia Woolf and Vita Sackville West, both are the member of Bloomsbury group, a circle of intellectuals and artists. Woolf is renowned for her experimental narrative techniques, particularly stream of consciousness writing, and her exploration of themes like a gender identity and mental health. Vita Sackville West was born on 1892 and died on 1962. Was an English writer, poet, and garden designer. She was an aristocrat known for her novel The Edwardians and her poetry. She also created the famous garden at Sissinghurst Castle with her husband. Orlando is a reflection of Vita Sackville West. So Orlando is heavily inspired by Vita's life, particularly her attachment to her ancestral home, Knoll, which she could not inherit due to gender restrictions. The protagonist's long lifespan and gender transformation mirror Vita's personal struggle with identity and societal expectations. The oak tree, the poem Orlando writes throughout the novel, reflects Vita's real life poetic endeavors, particularly The Land. Was published in 1927. The role of gender and sexual identity in Orlando. So Woolf's portrayal of Orlando's shifting gender highlights fluidity rather than a rigid binary, resonating with Vita's own gender dualism. Vita often presented different versions of herself depending on her relationship, sometimes embracing masculinity, sometimes femininity. The novel challenges conventional sexual identities, portraying desire as unpredictable and not strictly heterosexual or homosexual. Historical versus fictional adaptation. So, we saw this movie Vita and Virginia. So Virginia Woolf's Orlando takes a highly imaginative approach to history, blending fact and fiction in a way that defies traditional biography. The novel follows Orlando across the centuries, changing gender and experiencing different historical periods, making a history feel fluid and subjective. Woolf reinterprets real events and figures using satire and fantasy to challenge the idea of a fixed historical narratives. In contrast, Vita and Virginia stays closer to historical reality, focusing on the actual relationship between Woolf's and Vita Sackville West. The film dramatizes their romance through their letters and interactions, offering a more literal portrayal of their love and its impact on Orlando. Unlike Woolf's novel, which reshapes history for artistic and philosophical exploration, Vita and Virginia presents a more grounded, dramatized retelling of events, emphasizing emotional truth over historical reinvention. Woolf's experiment with biography and fiction in Orlando. So Orlando is described a writer's holiday, but also a literary revolution. By writing Orlando, Woolf essentially rewrote the rules of biography, blending factual and fictional elements to create a new form of storytelling. Orlando lives for centuries and seamlessly moving through different historical periods, uses Vita's aristocratic lineage but transform history into playful and a fluid narrative. The novel parodies traditional biographies using an unreliable narrator who contradicts historical facts. Feminist interpretation of Orlando. So Orlando critiques a patriarchal history by allowing its protagonist to transcend gender barriers. Woolf presents gender as a performance aligning with modern feminist and queer theories. The novel's conclusion, where Orlando exists beyond strict gender categories, suggest a rejection of a fixed identity, in which this satire, feminism, and social critique we can find in this Orlando biography, and as well as in the film Vita and Virginia. So Woolf critiques the limited roles assigned to women across a history. Orlando as a man enjoy privilege, power, and intellectual freedom, but upon becoming a woman, she faces legal and social restrictions from the society. And Orlando mocks patriarchal institutions that deny women access to inheritance and power. Woolf also critique the literary and academic exclusion of women, portraying Orlando's struggles as a female writer in the 18th and 19th century. Orlando's marriage to Shelmardine is depicted with irony and humor, challenging the traditional idea of marriage as a woman ultimate fulfillment. Okay, so now I conclude my presentation. Virginia Woolf's Orlando is both a love letter to Vita Sackville West and a bold statement on gender and identity. Through Orlando's journey across centuries and transformation from man to woman, Woolf challenges the strict gender roles and societal limits placed on a woman. The novel also satirizes the way history and literature have traditionally excluded women, using humor to expose this injustice by presenting gender as a fluid and identity as a ever changing. Orlando was ahead of its time, influencing modern feminist and queer discussion. More than just a tribute to Vita, it is a groundbreaking work that continues to inspire conversations about self-expressing and freedom. These are my references. And yes, thank you so much. Now you can ask me a question if you have a query.
So, Bhumi, my question is to you that how does marriage function as a satire in Orlando?
Marriage function is a satire in Orlando. Orlando is like a playful, and marriage is for Orlando, marriage is a playful and unexpected. Is a making a fun of traditional ideas of love and gender roles, and it also shows that relationships don't have to follow the society's rules and restrictions, and it's highlight to fluid nature of relationships and gender role.
So, Bhumi, my question is, does Vita and Virginia capture the essence of Orlando?
According to me, not exactly, because Vita and Virginia tells their real love story, and showing their letters, emotions, feelings, and relationships. While this Orlando is goes beyond reality. Orlando goes beyond reality, and Wolves turn Vita into this character, and it's live for centuries, and making her life timeless. So this Orlando biography to explore the gender fluidity and history, while this film Vita and Virginia is stay grounded in actual events. So yes, that is from my side. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. I am Sanket VAVADIYA, and today I will be presentation on the topic its view of the future, a study of the second coming. This is my personal academic information, a table of content. First, we brief introduction of the author about William W. Yeats, then introduction of this poem, then significance of a title, then historical context, then Yeats' view of the future, and then mythical elements, then conclusion, reference. Let's start with the research question and hypothesis. My research question is how does W. Yeats use historical and mythical symbolism in the second coming to depict his vision of the future? And my hypothesis is it's the second coming portrays history as a cyclical process of destruction and renewal through the symbolic imagery and apocalyptic apocalyptic themes. The poem suggests the societal collapse is inevitable, reflecting both past turmoil and future uncertainty. Uh, about WB, it's his full name is William Butler Yeats, and he was born in 13 June 1865 in Dublin, Ireland, and he was an Irish poet, playwright, and dramatist. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1923, so he was a Nobel Prize winner, and he was also co-founder of the Abbey Theatre, and his famous work include The Tower, The Second Coming, and The Winding Stair, and other poems. Introduction of the poem. Uh, the poem title is The Second Coming, and the genre is a prophetic and apocalyptic poem. The apocalyptic means destroying, chaotic, and destroying things include in this poem, and it was published in the 1920. And uh, in this poem, it's explored the chaos, destruction, and mythical context. The poem reflects the time of World War One and its effect. So here we see the it's used the time of after World War, and he see the how chaos emerging everywhere, and he describe in this poem. The second point is a new era emerging symbolize the rough beast, suggesting the birth of a new omniscience force. So the title of the poem is the second coming, and he symbolized the rough beast, just like monstrous things. This suggests the so this symbolizes the birth of a new and he used the themes is a chaos and disintegration, prophecy and fate, and mythology and symbolism. This is theme include in this poem. uh, Significance of title. uh, uh, the title indicates the imminent arrival of a radical new era. The first so simply the title is the second coming. It means generally it means the uh, something new, something come soon. So uh, its arrival of a new era comes soon, and this new era will bring divine intervention that destroy existing chaos. And the time of World War II, just after just ending of World War II, and it's was a see the time of a world war. How was chaos emerging in the around, and how was effect after world war. So this chaos he described in the poem, and so he see the and right for that, and he see the new era bring soon, and destroy the existing chaos. And the poem encapsulate the its belief in cyclical history, marking the end of one epoch. So and and the phrase the second coming subvert the traditional Christian return to the Christ. And the second coming is a phrase that means the Christian return to the Christ, that Christian believes that Christ will born again. Historical context. The poem is set in aftermath of World War One, capturing the shattered world. Uh, the poem published in the 1920, and after the World War One ending in 1980. So we can see the effect of World War One in this poem. The poem mirrors a deep collective anxiety as a established certain fall apart. So in this poem, we see the mirror of collective anxieties. So the time of World War I, so everywhere chaos and anxiety. So we can also see in this poem, and the and also we can see the poem starting lines, the turning and turning, and in the winding Zion, and falconer cannot hear the falconer. So here the we see the uh, winding gyre means the chaos, expanding chaos around, and anxiety we can see in this poem. And the world was facing rapid change, and its poem capture the fear of uncertain future. And here the its predict a future, the time of World War I, and an uncertainty time of that time. And it's all this depict in this poem. It was deeply influenced by Ireland's fight for independence and the civil unrest, and that time also was the Britain rule under Ireland. So it was also influenced by Ireland's fight for independence. Uh, he believes the history move in a spiral with each era ending in a chaos before the new one begins. So he believes in a cyclic spiral, one era and ending in a chaos before the new one begins. Uh, its view of the future. Yeats was deeply preoccupied with the history and its impact on the creative spirit. And he see the end of the world, and his interpretation of history is included in this poem. So according to Yeats' view, he see the how history historical context. So he see the time of World War I, and the how chaos emerging in a society, and how was the condition of society uh, in this poem. And its theory of history is often associated with the cyclical pattern represented by his concept of a gyre. So the opening line, turning and turning in winding gyre wire. So gyres. So the concept of a gyre, see the how chaos expand around, and everywhere chaos. And it's so he see the chaos in the society. So he include in his poem. And his emphasis on disaster over renewal challenges more optimistic and statistic model of historical progress. So its emphasis on a disaster over renewal and challenge the more optimistic or statistic model of historical progress. uh, its poetry shows the passionate personal reaction to history collapses, blending sadness with a sense of possibility. So it's so he's so in this poem we can see the how his point of view of history. In this poem we can see this type of. And how was the condition of that time Ireland. He believed that the period of decay and collapse are an unavoidable part of a historical change, and it saw the history as a repeating cycle of rise, decline, and renewal. So, this kind of things we can see in this poem. Mythical elements. The mythical creature representing chaos, destruction, and rebirth of a new era. So, in this poem, we can see the mythical elements like chaos and the birth of a new era. We can believe that in a Christianity believes that uh, chaos are increasing, and Christ will born for destroying chaos. And Hinduism also believes that Christ chaos are more increase in a society, so the god Kalki will born and destroy the chaos. The poet draws on a spiritual mundi to evokes an archetypal image linking personal inspiration with ancient enduring mythologies. So here, this image of a spirituous mundi, the uh, face of a man and a body of a lion. So this type of image of spirituous mundi, and it symbolize the uh, chaos are increasing, and Christ will born soon. It redefines the redemption of uh, envisioning Christ will be born in a society where chaos increasing and Yes, yes.
Start, yeah.
Okay.
Present entire screen
Yes, sir.
and then start.
Share. Share.
It's not shared yet. Yeah. Present again.
Sir, in the presentation. Share कर दिए तो check करेगा जो.
Entire screen. Share. This side. Asha. करो slideshow.
Okay, so so we can see in the poem the Yeats redefines the redemption by envisioning Christ will be born from chaos and moral inversion. So the in this poem we can see the chaos increase and increase in around these poems, and so Christian believes that the Christ will born and destroy the chaos. Conclusion. It's the second coming paints a vivid picture of the world in a chaos, predicting the falls of old systems and the rise of uncertain future, using the mythology, history, and apocalyptic imagery. He suggests that the history moves in a cycle of destruction and renewal. The poem remains relevant today, making us question if our own time is on the verge of a similar upheaval. So in the poem, he used the vivid picture of a chaos and how the history was a history of that time, and he also used the mythical elements in this poem. Or uh, this is my references, and thank you everyone. Now you can ask freely question to me.
My question is, what was the main message in the second coming?
Okay, according to me, the main message of the poem is it's describe the history of that times, and he was also the uh, dominate from Britain. He was also struggle from the Ireland's freedom for, and it's the main message of the how chaos emerge around, uh, and the Christ will born and destroy the chaos. Yes.
So, Sanket, my question is, how does W.B. Yeats use historical events in the poem?
Okay, so it's used the historical events like the uh, ending of World War One, and the uh, Ireland struggle for independence from Britain, and use this time of in this poem. Thank you, everyone.
Hello everyone. Today I am going to dealing with the topic the second coming, a prophetic vision of politics, religion and crisis. Here are my academic information, table of content.
So my research question is that how does Yeats, The Second Coming, employs the concept of historical cycles to predict societal collapse, and how has its apocalyptic imagery been interpreted in different historical and contemporary crises? So my hypothesis for this is that W.B. Yeats' The Second Coming is a prophetic poem that uses historical cycles to critique a political and religious transformation, foreseeing the breakdown of traditional structures and the emergence of a chaotic new order. The poem's apocalyptic imagery has been reinterpreted across different crises, from political upheavals to modern pandemics. So let's begin with introduction. So W. Yeats, a visionary poet, uh, Irish poet, playwright, and Nobel laureate, deeply involved in Irish politics, mysticism, and spiritualism. He was influenced by Irish mythology, the occult, and historical cycles. He was the key figures in Irish literary revival, shaping modern poetry. Context of the Second Coming. So, written in 1990, post World War One, amid global turmoil, reflects the political upheavals, revolutions, and collapsing empires influenced by Russian Revolution and Irish War of the Independence, inspired by its gyre theory, historical cycles of rise and fall. So the second coming is a political prophecy. So if we see the context, so the poem reflects the fear of uncertainty people felt after which people felt after the World War One. Society was still recovering from the war's destruction, and many believed the world was heading towards more chaos. Yeats' vision on that, so Yeats predict that another great conflict would come. His poem suggests that after the First World War, the world was on the path on even a worse war. Breakdown of order. So the falcon cannot hear the falconer. This line, this means that society has lost control. People are no longer following traditional values, leading to disorder. So analysis of anarchy. So mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drawn. This line suggests that violence and chaos are spreading in innocence is being destroyed by political turmoil. Prophecy for conflict. So many believes it was predicting World War II, the most destructive war in history. He thought that European society was falling apart, and unfortunately, the rise of Hitler and fascism in 1930s proved him right. Antichrist. It describes a terrifying rough beast coming to power. This can be linked to leaders like Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin, who ruled with violence and oppressions. They represented a new cruel era. A rejection of orders. So the totalitarian regimes of World War II rejected traditional moral values. They spread and against Christian beliefs, creating a world filled with suffering and destructions. Seamus Jane connects the poem to its collection, Michael Roberts and Dancer, which also explores revolutions and political instability. So, second coming as a religious and cultural perspective. So, Yeats' poem and its interpretation. So, W.B. Yeats' poem, The Second Coming, is deeply influenced by religious, political, and spiritual themes written in aftermath of World War One. The biblical reference to the second coming of Christ suggests prophecy of radical change, but Yeats envision something dark and omniscious. Religious context and biblical allusion. So the poem draws from Christian astrology, particularly Matthew 24, 27, 31, where Christ returns signals the end of times. The phrase "the second coming" carries strong religious connotations, often associated with judgment and renewal. Yeats, however, present an alternative vision, a rough beast rather than a savior suggesting chaos rather than salvation. Spiritual and occult influence. So Yeats was influenced by mysticism and occultism, explored in his book A Vision. His wife Georgia Heliles practiced automatic writing, which played a role in shaping its cyclical view of history. He believed in gyre or one era collapsing as another emergence reflected in the poem. So contemporary relevance and pop culture. So the idea of a prophesied savior remains relevant in various cultures and beliefs. So Christianity, Christianity, many believers still anticipate Christ's second coming, shaping their worldview and ethical conducts. And however, in Hinduism, peoples are believing in Kalki avatar, which prophesied as a Lord Vishnu's final carnation, arriving in a restored balance. The second coming is a pandemic poem. So the themes of collapse and disorder. So the poem describes a world where things fall apart and mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood dim tide can symbolize the overwhelming loss of life in a pandemic. A rough beast is a metaphor for disease. So a shape with lion body and the head of man. This phrase represent as an unknown, uncontrollable force like a virus, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born, suggest an impending disaster or transformation akin to the way a pandemic emergence and reshaped society. Connection to modern pandemics. So COVID-19 and the second coming shares theme of societal breakdown and fear of unknown future. The rough beast slouching towards Bethlehem can be read as an unstoppable crisis, like a virus reshaping the world. Elizabeth Otska's viral modernism highlights the pandemic influence literature and culture. So popular culture and pandemic narratives. So films like Contagion and novels like Stephen King's The Stand explore similar theme to of human helplessness against the disease, just as Yeats' poem captures the uncertainty of his era. Modern works reflect today's anxiety about pandemics and global crises. So here is one scholarly insight. So Harold Bloom, according to him, Yeats believes that a change in God was coming, and that the 200,000 year region of Christianity was about to end, but it does not reveal who is God will be. Its last two lines are questions, and what rough beast it's overcome round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born. At the conclusion, W.B. Yeats' The Second Coming remains a strictly relevant poem offering a prophetic lens of political turmoil, religious transformation, and global crisis. Its vivid imagery of chaos and impending new era continues to resonate across historical and cultural connections, whether interpreted as a commentary on war, societal collapse, or modern pandemics. The poem captures the unsettling cycle of destruction and renewal that define human history. So here are my references, and thank you. Now, if you have any question, then feel free to ask me.
So, Krupali, my question is, does literature always reflect historical crises, or can it also create them by influencing public perception?
Yes, according to me, that literature is not always based on histories, because it also gives a new way to people think about history. As we, for example, book like 1984, which helps people to think about how political are working on the side, and that's how.
So Krupali, my question is, if second coming is a prophecy, do you think it's accurately predicted modern political and social crisis?
Yes, in some way I say yes. In modern, in our time, we find the Yeats also wrote about fear and chaos on his poetry. So in our time, we also find that wars and political fights are also going on in the current situation. And as like Yeats write about that, history moves in cycles. So I think this is about prophecy of our times. Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone. Very good afternoon to all of you. Today is our third day of presentation on paper number 106 and my presentation topic is War, Art and Immortality of W.B. Yeats, a philosophy of poetry. So let's start. This is my academic information. This is table of contents which we will discuss in detail. And research question and hypothesis. My research question is how does William Butler Yeats' vision of poetry reflect his philosophical beliefs, historical consciousness, and use of symbolism? And how do these elements hypothesis is Yeats' poetry is deeply influenced by his engagement with mysticism, history, and symbolism, suggesting that he perceived poetry as a bridge between the material and the spiritual worlds. His extensive use of esoteric imagery, including gyres, the mystical Byzantium, and mythological references, indicates a belief in poetry as a means of revelation and prophecy. Furthermore, his concept of historical cycles, influenced by his study of occultism and philosophical traditions, reinforces the idea that poetry serves as a tool to interpret and predict the course of human civilization. And here the first introduction, Yeats' vision of poetry. As earlier Sanket mentioned in his presentation, like William Burt's born in 1865 and died on 1939. He one of the greatest modernist poets. His poetry reflects deep concerns about nationalism, war, mythology, and artistic transcendence. He lived through turbulent times, witnessing Irish nationalism, World War I, the Easter Rising 1960, and the Irish Civil War. His philosophy of poetry was influenced by Irish folklore and mythology, then mysticism and the occult, then more romanticism and symbolism, and political and social upheavals. And here, historical context. Ireland stimulates time. Main idea of this point is Yeats lived through periods of intense political and social turmoil, which shaped his poetry. Key historical events that influenced Yeats: Irish nationalism, the growing demand for independence from British rule, then the Easter Rising of 1960, a major turning point in Yeats' political consciousness. Then, as we know, World War I, when it's occurred 1940 to 1918, a time of global upheaval that influenced his themes of destruction and rebirth. Then the Irish Civil War 1922 to 1923, the eternal conflict within Ireland that further shaped his reflection on violence and loss. Here the example, poem Easter 1960, Yeats reflect on the sacrifice made by Irish revolutionary and the birth of a new political identity. A quote like all change utterly, a terrible beauty is born, a paradox capturing the tension between destruction and creation. Then war as a catalyst, transmuting conflict into art. Yeats' view on war, so war as both destructive and creatively inspiring. Then violence and imagery, used war's chaos to create powerful and intense images. Then trauma and artistic creation, believed uphill pushes poets to find in a deeper meaning. Then key quote is we make out of the quarrel with others that rhetoric, but of the quarrel with ourselves poetry. Example like the second coming, this written in 1990, after the World War the first, reflecting global instability. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. This represent words collapsing and the rough beast, symbol of an uncertain and ominous future. And then art as a transcendence, the power of beauty, art as an escape. It's so art as a refuge from war, destruction, and political turmoil. He believed beauty and artistic expression could elevate human consciousness. Then symbolism and mythology. He incorporated Irish folklore, Greek myths, and mystical symbols in his poetry. These elements help him convey universal and timeless truth. Then influence of the occult. Yeats was deeply involved in mysticism, esoteric traditions, and spiritualism. His occult beliefs influence his themes of transformation, fate, and destiny. And then here the example of his poem Sailing to Byzantium. This first published in 1927. The poem represents the journey from physical decay to spiritual and artistic immortality. Byzantium symbolizes an ideal world where art transcends human limitations. And quote like, the world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our sense to grow sharper. Now, this suggests that beauty and higher truth exist but require deep perception. And then immortality through words defying time. Here the many points, like first is poetry as the eternal. William Butler Yeats saw poetry as a medium that defies time, keeping idea, emotions, and figure alive across generation. Then second one is art as a legacy. A poet may die, but their words continue to inspire, ensuring they are never truly forgotten. Then third one is timeless beauty in nature and art. Yeats often compared the fleeting nature of human life to the enduring beauty of art and nature. Then symbolism of the swan in the wild swan at pool. The swan represent constancy, unlike human life, which is full of change and decay. Then the role of memory. Through words, memory are preserved, allowing future readers to experience the emotions and thoughts of the past. Here the quote like, time and the world are ever in flight, suggest that everything changes, but poetry captures the essence of life, making it immortal. And then connection to the myth and history. Yeats used a mythology to link the past with the present, reinforcing the idea that art bridges time. And then criticism and controversy. Complex legacy of Yeats. William Butler Yeats remains a complex and sometimes controversial figure due to his shifting political views and deep engagement with mysticism. While his early works reflected strong nationalist sentiments, his later fascination with authoritarian ideas has drawn criticism. His involvement with the occult and esoteric belief added depth to his poetry, but also made some of his ideas seem abstract or elitist. Critics debate whether his later works promote a rigid social hierarchy or simply use a symbolism to explore timeless human struggle. Despite these controversies, Yeats' poetry continues to be studied for its artistic brilliance and historical significance. And here the Yeats' enduring relevance, art in times of crisis. William Butler Yeats' poetry continues to echo in modern times, addressing political upheaval, war, and personal transformation. And then his exploration of mysticism and symbolism offers a deeper understanding of art's spiritual and philosophical role. And then art as a resistance and renewal, showing how poetry can both critique and transcend difficult realities. His vision of history as a cyclical, a warning of repeating crisis and the need for wisdom in turbulent times. And last one is Yeats' legacy reminds us that art can shape identity, provide meaning, and offer a lasting voice amid change. And here the conclusion, the timeless vision of Yeats. W.B. Yeats, a philosophy of poetry, stands as a testament to the enduring power of art in times of chaos, conflict, and uncertainty. His works reflect the deep connection between war, beauty, and immortality, showing how poetry can both document history and transcend time. Through his masterful use of symbolism, mythology, and personal reflection, Yeats transformed moment of turmoil into lasting artistic expression. His poetry not only immortalizes historical events and figures, but also invites readers to engage with a profound passion about identity, change, and the human condition. Even today, his vision remains relevant, reminding us that art has the power to offer solace, and inspire change and outlive its creators. And here the references. And thank you. I hope you found my presentation insightful. And if you have more clarity, so feel free to ask your questions.
So Divya, my question is for you that why is Yeats poetry still important today and how does it continue to influence modern readers?
Yes, Krupali. As we saw in earlier slide, like WB Yeats use WB Yeats poetry is reflect in today's life, because he written in such things like love, war, and history represent, and people like reader, writer are always inspired by him as what is the thematic concern, and many ways to write about. So
So Divya, my question is, how does it show the power of beauty in art, and why does he believe it is eternal?
yes, Sanket, I agree with Yeats poetry. Yeats poetry is a power of beauty in art, and people show people are when people are grow old and die, but in example, we can find his example sailing to the Byzantium. He portrayed as a one old man who want to escape her. He's aging and become a golden bird. But this is no but this is a beauty in art and shaping as like emotion of that person. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself GOHEL DHRUVIKA. Today I present my presentation topic is the role of women in the Great Gatsby. This is my personal information. These are table of content. Research question: how does the Great Gatsby portray women, and what does this representation reveal about gender roles and social expectation in the 1920s? Hypothesis: Fitzgerald portraits of women in the Great Gatsby reflects the limitation imposed by 1920s gender norms, illustrating how women, despite gaining some independence, remained constrained by social expectation. Through Daisy, Jordan, and Martel, the novel critiques the superficiality of wealth, relationship, and the flawed nature of the American dream in a male-dominant world. These are biography of F. Scott Fitzgerald. Introduction: The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald explored themes of wealth, social status, and the American dream. Women in the novel reflects the social expectation and limitation of the 1920s. The novel explored themes of wealth, love, social status, the American dream, and moral decay. The Roaring Twenties introduced flippers who embrace independence, yet social norms still conform women to roles centered around marriage and wealth. Women in the 1920s context. The Roaring Twenties mark a shift in women's roles, greater independence, but persistent gender norms. Flippers, new woman who challenge traditional norms. Jordan Baker is an example. Jordan Baker, a golfer and socialite in The Great Gatsby, represent these new types of woman independence, but morally ambiguous. Despite progress, women were often still seen as dependent on men for financial and social stability. Women gain more education and career opportunities, yet traditional expectation about marriage and family remain strong. These three key female characters, Daisy Buchanan, Jordan Baker, and Myrtle Wilson. Daisy Buchanan, the idealist but a superficial woman. Daisy, Nick Carraway's cousin and Tom Buchanan's wife. She gets Gatsby's long lost love, and he has spent a year trying to win her back. She represents wealth, beauty, charm, and social status, but beneath her elegance, she is shallow and self-absorbed. Despite her charm, she lacks independence and depth, making her symbols of superficiality. Gatsby famous quote about Daisy, "Your voice is full of money" by Gatsby. Jordan Baker, the independent but dishonest woman. Jordan Baker is a professional golfer and socialite who moves in elite circle. She represents the new woman of the 1920s, more independent, career-driven, and spirited. Unlike Daisy, who conforms to traditional roles, and Jordan is self-sufficient and ambitious. She is unmarried and financially independent. She smokes, drinks, and is socially active. And unlike traditional women, she does not seem interested in love or marriage for security. Unlike Daisy. Myrtle Wilson, the ambitious but tragic woman. Wilson is the wife of George Wilson, a struggling mechanic who owns a garage in the Valley of Ashes. She resents her lower class life and desperately seeks wealth and status. To escape her reality, she has an affair with Tom Buchanan, believing he will elevate her social standing. Unlike Daisy and Jordan, who are born into wealth, Myrtle is an outsider trying to climb the social ladder. Myrtle tries to break free from her lower class status, but she is ultimately trapped in a world that does not accept her. Themes reflected through the woman objectification. Women are valued for beauty status rather than character, and power and powerlessness. They influence men but ultimately remain dependent. The American dream and its flaws. Woman pursuits of happiness is shaped by social constraint. These are my conclusion. Fitzgerald portrayed the woman in The Great Gatsby as a symbol of desire and product of flawed society. Despite the progress of the 1920s, Daisy, Jordan, and Myrtle remain constrained by gender roles and social expectation. Daisy chose wealth, love, Myrtle's ambitions, and tragedy. And Jordan's independence is undermined by dishonesty. Through these characters, Fitzgerald critiques the superficiality of wealth, relationship, and the American dream in a male-dominant world, ultimately revealing the illusion and moral decay of the jazz age. These are my references. Thank you. Now you're free to ask a question.
So, Dhruvika, my question is how does Fitzgerald use symbolism to represent women's role?
Yes, Divya. Daisy was symbolized wealth based value, while Dr. T.J. Eichelberg eyes reflect the social moral represent woman's role.
Dhruvika, my question is for you that how do Martin Wilson's relationship with George Wilson and Tom Buchanan differ in terms of power dynamics, emotional fulfillment, and social aspirants?
Yes, Krupali. Myrtle feel trapped in her marriage with George, who is poor and powerless, while she sees Tom as her escape to wealth and status. That was an George Wilson and Tom Buchanan differ in terms power dynamic, social aspirant. Thank you. This is my side. Hello everyone, myself RUTVI. Today I am going to discuss the crisis of truth and misinformation, Nick Carraway as an unreliable narrator in the post-truth era. Here is academic information, table of content, and my research question. How does Nick Carraway's unreliable narration through selective omission, romanticized bias, and intoxicated recollection mirror the mechanism of misinformation in the post-truth era? And the hypothesis is, while Nick Carraway self-fashion as an objective observer, his narration is compromised by Gatsby-centric idealism, moral hypocrisy, and alcohol cloud, memory distortion akin to post-truth storytelling. Yet his retrospective critique of the jazz is inadvertently expose how such narratives manipulation perpetuate collective delusion, much like contemporary media's ecosystem. His introduction, the post-truth era and the literary forewarning. The term post-truth was named Oxford Dictionary's Word of the Year in 2016. It referred to the cultural shift where object facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeal to emotion and personal belief. In today's media landscape, selective storytelling play a powerful role in manipulating truth. News outlets, social media, and politicians carefully choose what to highlight and what to omit, creating narratives that reinforce a specific belief. Literature has always been a reflection of societal struggle with truth and deceptions. The Great Gatsby is an excellent example of this. The concept of the unreliable narrators, introduced by both in 1961, explain how narrators manipulate reality. Both defines an unreliable narrator as one who does not act in accordance with the norms of the work. Nick Carraway in The Great Gatsby served as a classical unreliable narrator. While he pretends himself as an honest observer, he selectively chooses what to reveal, shaping our perception of Gatsby and the other characters. The unreliable narrator, when can we trust the storyteller? Definition: an unreliable narrator is one who credibly is compromised due to inconsistencies, bias, or contradiction in their storytelling. As Vera state, the classification of a narrator as reliable or unreliable depends on the reader's value system and historical context. Why it's matter? Because it challenges the perception of truth. Readers must critically engage with the text, questioning what is fact and what is distortion. Historical and cultural influence is what is considered unreliable. Shift with societal value, what was once accepted as a truth may be seen as a deception. Moral and ethical ambiguity. Both argue that the unreliable narrators are often morally and intellectually deficient, forcing reader to evaluate narrative through their own moral framework. Example of unreliable narration. From the novel, Nick Carraway mentioned that I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. This self-assertion contradicts Nick's bias and selective storytelling, make his reliability questionable. Connection to the post era. In an age where misinformation thrives, unreliable narrates mirror contemporary concern about manipulated narratives, fake news, and the subjective nature of truth. Nick Carraway's character background. Nick as a narrator serve as a both observer and participate in the Great Gatsby. He educated at Yale, moves to New York for the bond business, and
his key traits is his self-proclaimed honesty. As we mentioned before, that I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known. However, scholars challenge this claim. Peter Likas argued that Nick's honesty is questionable, as his narration is shaped by bias and selective storytelling. His contradiction raised a doubt. While claiming honesty, he also admit I am inclined to reserve all judgment, yet frequently critiques other. And bias towards the Gatsby. Nick criticized the moral corruptions of the Buchanan, yet romanticize Gatsby, calling him greater, despite acknowledging his illegal activities and obsession with the past. W.H. Frohook observed that Nix never does break through the murk to see Gatsby for what he is, a pitiful, romantic of, and discomfort with disorder. His narration emphasizes a contrast between order and chaos, reflect his struggle to maintain moral clarity in a world of moral ambiguity. He reacts with a discomfort to moment of a social disorder, such as Martin's affair and the excess of Gatsby's parties. Nick portrayal of Gatsby's and the event around him is filtered through his own moral limitation, making his reliability as a narrator deeply questionable. Evidence of unreliability, concealment of information. Nick's lied, joking when Daisy asked why she had to come alone. That's the secret of Castle Recurrent. So this sentence serves the same purpose. It underplay the moral significance of the actions. His first-person narrative created a technical problem he could not plot his way out of. Nick selectively omits details, shaping Gatsby as a myth rather than an objective reality. Censorship of personal experience. To praise Gatsby and denounce the East, Nick must be a upright man, not a liar, a hypocrite, or a ponder. Fitzgerald, who once said of himself, I guess I am too much a moralist at heart and really want to preach at people in some acceptable form, need to protect his narration moral positions. Nick's self-censorship reinforces his illusions of moral superiority while observing his own flaws. Nick's role as a narrator allows him to control the reader's perception, making his reliability questionable. Categories of unreliability. There are four key categories, in which first is a Nick withdraw or distorts information, shaping how the readers perceive event and characters. Censorship. Nick downplay his own moral failing, making himself appear more objective than he truly is. And memory gaps due to intoxication. Nick's drinking affect his ability to recount event occurrently. Subjective judgment. Nick present opinion as fact, especially regarding Gatsby's and Tom Buchanan. These categories reveal that Nick is not a neutral observer, but an unreliable narrator whose bias shaped the entire novel. The impact of bias of fondness for Gatsby affect narrative perspective. First, Nick's admiration. Nick Carraway admires Gatsby for his ambitions and romantic idealism. His highlight Gatsby's lavish party and hopeful pursuit of Daisy. Selective storytelling. Nick represents Gatsby's positivity while downplaying his illegal activities and flaws. This creates an idealized image of Gatsby as an tragic hero. Criticism of other character. In contrast, Nick is critical of characters like Tom Buchanan and Daisy. He emphasized their arrogance, infidelity, and moral failing. Nick's foundless skew the narrative, leading to a sympathetic portrayal of Gatsby. This bias impact readers' perception of the truth and morality. Border implication reflect how personal bias can distort storytelling in literature and real life, similar to contemporary media favoring certain narratives based on audience performance.
Parallel to the post-truth era, Nick Carave's selective narration was in modern media bias. Nick distorts reality through the omissions and subjectivity judgment, mirroring how modern media selectivity present fact to shape the narratives. Truth distortion in news and social media. Political facts. Social media has played a decisive role in election spreading misinformation that influence over perception. For example, 26th US election and 29th Indian election. Echoes, chambers, and confirmation. People engage more with content that aligns with their existence belief, leading to personalization. And we all are aware about deep AI and deep fake, which create misinformation, somehow create misinformation. Like we also aware about deep fake video of Rashmika Mandana. The current example, if we face COVID-19 and health means fake course and vaccine myths. Social media was flooded with misinformation about COVID-19, including false treatment and vaccine conspiracy theory. For example, Bill Gates a microphone hoax and political event and social media's influence. WhatsApp and Facebook in India's election. 2029 political parties use misinformation to manipulate public opinion. COVID-19 blames game, false claim about the virus or origins and targeted disinformation campaign, flooded racial discrimination and global tension. The parallel between Nick Caravelli selective narration and today's post-truth era highlight the dangers of manipulation storytelling both in literature and real life. These are the example which I take from the Facebook. And the example of Yogi Adityanath, he declared that in Kumbh Mela, boatsmen earn 3 crores during Kumbh Mela. But in reality, there is a one person who earned this money. But in background, the boatsmen are not get money. But in he this information harm to livelihood those are living there. Conclusion: Nick Carave's reliability remains a subject of debates, while his retrospective narration suggests reflection. His bias, omission, and contradiction underline his credibility. His idealization of Gatsby and selective judgment of others further distort the narrative. These debates extended beyond literature, mirroring modern censor about misinformation and subjective truth. Ultimately, the Great Gatsby challenged the reader to question how narrative shape reality. These are the references. This is from my side. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
Rutvi, my question is, does this mean the Great Gatsby predicted fake news?
Not exactly, but it definitely explores how powerful people controls narratives. Gatsby's whole image is like 1925 version of deep fake carefully crafted illusion. Nick as a media and even Gatsby himself helped to build and maintain this fantasy, just like a political campaign and social media influencer do today. Next one.
So, Ruthvi, my question is: if Nick is so unreliable, why does Fitzgerald use him as the narrator?
Yes, that is the question. That his unreliability is all his shows the all storytelling is bias. Bias. Fitzgerald basically says that do not trust everything which you hear, even it seems like honest, like Nick Carraway. Still twist the truth, just like Bodhi Media is does today. Thank you. This is from my side.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Myself, MAKWANA. Today, I am dealing with the topic The Great Gatsby as a symbolic novel. My personal informations, table of contents. My research question is how does F. Scott Fitzgerald use the symbolism in The Great Gatsby to explore the themes of wealth, class, and the American dream? My hypothesis Fitzgerald employs the variety of symbols throughout the in The Great Gatsby, such as the green light, the Valley of Ashes, the Gatsby's lavish parties, and the critique the illusion of the American dream, and the explore the corruption and the emptiness of the upper class. Introduction: F. Scott Fitzgerald and The Great Gatsby. F. Scott Fitzgerald to 1896 to 1914 was a prominent American author of the Zazes. Published in 1925, The Great Gatsby is a novel that the explore theme of wealth and the American dream and the disillusionment of the roaring 20s. The story of narrated by the Nick Carraway, who witnesses the integrant lifestyle and the tragic downfall of the J. Gatsby. The novel is renowned for the rich symbolism and the critique of the American society. Introduction to symbolism. What is symbolism? Symbolism is the use of symbols, the represent of ideas and qualities. The literature symbol often add the deeper meaning of layers of interruption. Fitzgerald masterfully employs the symbol of the explore theme of wealth and American dream and the past. The green light. Gatsby believed in the green light. The green light, hope, and the illusion dream. Located at the end of Daisy's log, the green light symbolizes the Gatsby's yearning for the Daisy and his idealized past. The represent of untouchable nature of the American dream and the illusion of recapturing the past. The light is always just out of reach, much like Gatsby's desire. We see in the novel that Gatsby strongly believe in the green light as a hope. The Eyes of Dr. T.J. Eichelberg. The Eyes of Dr. T.J. Eichelberg, Moral Decay and the Divine Judgment. The billboards with the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eichelberg looms the over of the Valley of Ashes, representing the decaying the moral landscape. They symbolize the eyes of God, watching and judging the moral wasteland of the characters live. They can also represent as the loss of spiritual values and the matriarchal society. The Valley of Ashes. The Valley of Ashes, moral and social decay. The Valley of Ashes is a desolate wasteland between the West Egg and the New York City. They symbolize the moral and social decay and the results from the pursuit of wealth and pleasure. It highlights the stark contrast between the wealth and the improvising the realizing the dark side of the American dream. Gatsby's party. Gatsby's party. Outrage and the emptiness. Gatsby's lavish party represent the excess and the superficiality of the Z's age. They symbolize the emptiness and the loneliness between the wicked and the wealth and glamour. The parties also a mean for Gatsby's attract Daisy's attention, highlighting his desperation and the longing. Color as a symbol, the language of colors. Gold and yellow color represent the wealth, luxury, but also corruption and the decay. While seeing the Gatsby's car and Daisy's aerial. The white color is representing the innocence and the purity, but also superficially and the emptiness. Daisy's cloth and her faked. Green light. Green light symbolizes a hope, evening, and the American dream. We see in the novel Gatsby strongly believed in the green light as a hope or American dream. Blue color, illusion, melancholy, Gatsby's dream. His garden and eyes of Dr. T.J. Eichelberg. The color gray, disillusion, the moral decay, the Valley of Ashes. The weather. The weather as an emotional mirror. The Fitzgerald uses the weather to mirror to the emotional states of the character and the progression of the narrative. The intense head during the pivoted confliction in the hotel, reflecting the rising the tension and the emotional tumor. The rain during the Gatsby's and Daisy's renewed mirrors their emotional and the valuability and the melancholic nature of their rekindled relationship. The American Dream. The corrupt American dream. Gatsby's pursuit of Daisy represents the destroyed version of the American dream. His belief that the wealth can buy happiness and the past can recreated and ultimately leads to his downfall. Fitzgerald critiques the materialistic and the superficial acceptance of the American dream, showing the destruction the portrayal. Conclusion. Symbolism enduring power. The rich symbolism in The Great Gatsby enhances the novel's theme, adds depth to its character. Fitzgerald's the use of symbols allow the readers explore the complexity of the American dreams, the past, and the human condition. The symbols the continue to resonate with readers, making the novel a timeless exploration of American society. Here are my references, and thank you. If you have any question, then feel free to ask me.
Khushi, my question is, how does Fitzgerald use irony in relation to symbolism?
The one example of irony used by Fitzgerald in the novel is Gatsby's lavish parties. We see in the novel that Gatsby's party is a luxurious party, and lots of people come their party, but yet Gatsby feel alone and the second example of the broke American dream that which was love with Daisy, but it's not come true. Next.
Khushi, my question is, how does Daisy function as a symbol in the novel?
The Daisy functions symbol in the novel as an idol. The Gatsby see not just a woman, but see a Daisy as an idol and dreams and hope. But while Daisy is a shallow-minded and a selfish person who never say her husband to that she never loved her. Thank you. This is from my side.
Hello everyone. Today my presentation topic is Fitzgerald
Open your slides. હવે આવું બધું આવડી જવું જોઈએ. કોઈ મદદ કરે એના આશાએ બેઠું રહેવાનું. 1 વર્ષ થઈ ગયું હવે ડિપાર્ટમેન્ટમાં. બધા જ ને એ ખબર પડી જવી જોઈએ આ બધું. યસ, સ્ટાર્ટ.
My presentation topic is Fitzgerald's unveiling of the American dream in Gatsby. These are my information, table of content, my research question. How does Fitzgerald portrayal of the American dream in the novel Gatsby relevant in the inherent contradiction and the ultimate disillusionment and reflecting the moral and social decay of the jazz age? This is hypothesis. Fitzgerald, the Great Gatsby, critique the American dream by the depiction it's the fundamentally flawed ideal and the transform the pursuit and the individual happiness and the social mobility into the obsession with the material wealth and social status through the tragic fate of J. Gatsby and the moral corruption of the elites. The novel relevance how the American dream hollow pursuit ideal to the inevitable disillusionment and the moral decay. Introduction of the F. Scott Fitzgerald. F's in full name of the F. Francis F. Scott Key Fitzgerald, born in the 1896 in St. Paul in Minnesota, named after the his famous banners and attempted the Princeton not university but drop out in the 1970 to join the US Army during the World War I. American novelist and short story writer is known for his the portrayal of the jazz age. The Fitzgerald debating the novel is side the Paradise in the 1920 made in the Inside the Literary Star. In the novel work is the beautiful of the demand in 1922. Tender in is the night in the 1934 and the last icon. And the Arthur Mirzer described the F. Scott Fitzgerald's writing style in biography, the far side of the paradise in 1951. American Dream. American Dream is the Oxford English Dictionary define the American Dream as the ideal that the every citizen of the United States should have a equal opportunity achieve assess the proper properties through the hard work, determination, and the inventives. And the American Dream is the prefers the referring to the pursued national echoes and of the United States have the every person has the freedom and opportunity to assess and attain the better lives. The phrase the American Dream again the prominent during the Great Disposition and popularized by the James Treslow Adam in his the book 1931 the Epic of America is the describe the American people condition and the how American dream is the hollow persuasion and the condition self-improvement and the collective growth. The originally American dream emphasized the moral integrity, and the collective progress in promoting self-improvement for the rich, more meaningful life. Materialism and moral declines. The overtime is the dream, shifting from the virtue, the wealth is the material success, becoming the end of itself, overshadowing in the original visual and the moral and social betterments. American had a lot of the way by the prizing the material success above the all other value. Indeed, in its the shatter to the trace money as the value inside the merely as the means to produce our the measure value. The term American dream is originally highlight the a broken promise in reflect the how the ramped monopoly capitalism led the relented compassion and understanding and the ideal of the crucial opportunity, the collective opportunities. The Martin Luther King Jr. in his the letter from the Birmingham jails in the 1963 wrote to the civil rights movement in the African American quotes for the American dream. In his book is the also describe the how African American dreams is the connected and the how this craze is the increase. This quote by the James Trussell Adams is the dream of a land in which the life should be better and the rich and fuller from the everyone with the opportunity for the each according to the ability or the achievement, and it is the not dream of the motor car and high wage of the material, but is the dream of the social order in which the each man and each woman shall be able to attain the all fullers and starter which they are the intelligibility and the capable and the recognized by the other for the what they are legals of the fortune and the circumstances of the birth of the opposition. A depiction of the American dream in the novel Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald critically examined the American dream in the context of the 1920 Jazz Age. Is the novel portray the dream of the corrupted by the materialism and social ambiguity in the reflection of the moral decay and society. Through the character of the J. Gatsby, the story highlight the illusion of the success and the disparity between the aspiration and the reality. Fitzgerald the critic like the hollow persuasion of the wealth and the tragic consequence of the soich and ultimate ideas. Fitzgerald explores the inheritance flaw in the American dream, suggests that prominent are the ultimately depictive and the unable to under leading to the inviolable disillusionment and downflow. These are the quote also represent of the American dream in the how this condition of the this time 1920 in jazz age in America. In F. Scott Fitzgerald also capture the condition of the society and how people to increase in the American market and American money and is illusionment. In like the Great Gatsby made the manifest especially in the what Fitzgerald's contemporary could better to the sea, and thus it is the not only the jazz as novel per excellence, but is also the hibbing of it is the decline and fall. Jay Gatsby dream in the in his illusion. Major character of the Jay Gatsby through the F. Scott Fitzgerald represent of the American dream and how this in the persuasion and the in the representation of the his through life in love story to materialism and the how connect with is the in mind to the escape from his dream in money. Jay Gatsby embodies the American dream through his transformation from the James Gates poor from the body to to the wealthy and enigmatic Gatsby. He is the lavish parties and the
opulent lifestyle are the mere illusion crafted to the wind back the Daisy Buchanan and symbolize how his dream is the built in the de- deception. Represent the Gatsby's unattainable dream and the perspectual hope. There are the past can be reclaimed. Tragic flow. How the Jay Gatsby is the downfall in through the his disillusionment and the his business through the is the love story. Gatsby Gatsby also the dream blinding with the true reality and leading with the tragic downfall. As the Rogers L person is argue the Gatsby become the both prophets and the victim that the restored the American dream, worshipping wealth and the perspective good God rather than speaking moral and spiritual fulfillment. As person also see the Gatsby is the rejected the uh, mi- mystical figures whose the death and symbolize the description of the materialism, goals and the self realization and relief and the hollow core of the American dreams in the Jazz Age. The symbolism of the green light, hope and desire is the through the novel F. Scott Fitzgerald represent of the dream light is the green lights is the hope and desire to is the money and wealth and nation. And this last quotation of the this novel Gatsby believe the green light is the orgastic futures that year by year received the before the earth and it's the leads then but that no matter tomorrow we will run faster stress out of the arm and father and one fine morning Gatsby and Wolfram, the dark side of wealth is the this character was the also to bootlegging and fixing the mess and the Gatsby associated with the Mary May Wolfram as the notorious and a glamour and the rector highlight the dark underability and the Gatsby's wealth. It Wolfram is the remote is the have the fixed the 1990 World Series and represent the morally and comparison the path and the Gatsby take to the achieve the dream. Gatsby future the through the glamorous and rotated in the illegal activities in like the bootlegging challenging the ideal of the sea made while the Gatsby project to as the image to show substing and the success. He is the partnership with the Wolfram and relieves the moral and badness with the glittering surfing. The Fitzgerald, the critical how the pursuit of the wealth in the judge is often the involved with the moral degradation expression and the hollowness in the of the dream in itself. A person argue that the Gatsby association with the Wolfram underscores the moral decay and the heart of the American dream, reliving the how the pursuit of the material success often the demean the composing and the moral and ethical values. Dream of the Daisy and Martel, illusion and reality. They both are the character with the each other to love and the connector with the which person is very wealth to connect. The Tom and Daisy marry with marked with definitely and the completely reflect the moral and implication behind their wealth and status. Daisy is the accept the Tom influence and the crime show the moral and indifference obsession the American dream and the Daisy Sham and the disability are the tied and the association with the wealth and symbolize the deception yet hollow nature of the dream. Martin Wilson is dreamed to escape him the poverty through the tomb, but her obsession with the wealth and status deal with her tragic death and mirroring Gatsby's downfall. Fitzgerald, the critic, quite the long Iceland in artistically as the barrier of the true to pursue American dream, exposing their the sense and ultimate nation. Both are the gates with Martyr fell, victim of the corrupted dreams, highlight the uh, destructive pursuit for the materialistic artistic tone. Hollow pursuit of the dream. In the through the novel, writer is the represent of the love with the wealth and nation. He represent of the condition of the this Zaj age in the through the society is the original American dream rooted in the how the work integrity become the corrupted the materialism and grade of the judges. The Gatsby and material equality, wealth in the happiness, but their achievement prove the hollow and ultimately leading the tragic ends. Tom and Daisy married, but beat the social and status rather than love, reflect the emptiness and the material pursuit and the moral decay. And the Roger L. person is the Liviu. Gatsby as the rejected the Messianic rigors, who is the tragic and reflective the destructive nature to the materialism. And Marian Blowley is the interpret the Gatsby dream is the destruct the desire from the social aspect and a corrupted wealth and privilege. Sarah Charswell argued that the novel criticized the American dreams transformed from the idealism, materialism, warming of the moral and spiritual decline. A conclusion. In the conclusion, Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald, critique the corruption of the American dream, show the how the transform from the noble aspiration of the hollow materialism, J. Gatsby, tragic persuasion of the wealth, status, Win Daisy, reflection of the illusion of success and the moral decay of the jazz age, and the dream is a prominence of the self and the social mobility provide the ultimate leading the disillusionment destruction through the Gatsby downfall. Fitzgerald warming the consequence of the changing the illusion build the grade in the novel ultimately expose the fraggling and the deceptive the nature of the American dreams. These are my references. Thank you.
So, Parthiv, my question is, how do symbolism like the green light and the characters like Wolfshame reveal the moral corruption underlying the pursuit of the American dream?
Yes, the green light also hope and desire, and Wolfshim is the representation of the life corruption through the connection with the J. Gatsby to the corruption, this gambling and bootlegging. These are the representation of the green light through the hope and desires.
My question is to you. Why is the Great Gatsby considered a significant critic of the American dreams, and how does Fitzgerald portrays remain relevant today?
Yes, the through the novel is the character Jay Gatsby is the not wealth person is the new money is the describe the also the east egg and west egg is the person who is the old money is the in a society is the very valuable, but is the new money is not any value in today lives. It also connected with the societal ethics and value in today's culture and societies. Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, myself KHUSHI Goswami. Today my presentation topic is a comparative analysis of Daisy Buchanan and Lady Brett Ashley, women in the jazz age and the lost generation. These are my academic details and presentation details. Table of content. My research question is, how do Daisy Buchanan and Lady Brett Ashley reflect the evolving roles and limitations of women in the 1920s? And what do their characters' arc reveals about the impact of societal expectations on female autonomy and romantic relationships? My hypothesis is, while both Daisy Buchanan and Lady Brett Ashley challenge traditional gender roles on the 1920s, their ultimate character's arc reveals that societal expectation and personal insecurities prevent them both achieving true independence. Daisy remains bound by materialism and social status, while Brett struggle with emotional detachment and the inability to sustain meaningful relationship. This highlighting the borders theme of female agency being constructed by cultural and personal limitations. Introduction. The jazz is a period of 1920s known as the jazz age. This period of economic prosperity, cultural transformation, and social rebellion. In this era, jazz music symbolized a break from tradition. The lost generation, writers and intellectual disillusioned by World War One. In this era, grappled with the theme of alienation, moral decay, and the search for meaning. Writers like Fitzgerald and Hemingway, both part of this movement, capture the restless spirit of their time in the novel Great Gatsby and The Sun Also Rises. Changing gender roles and women's increasing independence. The 1920s saw the rise of the new woman. It means the women are more independent, socially liberated, and challenging traditional roles. Women in the some countries, women are gained to the right to vote, embraced modern fashions and behaviors, and pursued careers and personal freedom. Post World War One disillusionment. This disillusionment is central to both novels. Gatsby's pursuit of wealth and status as a suitable for love, and the expectant community. In the novel Sun Also Rises, Wu drifted through the Paris and Spain in search of purpose but remain emotionally unfulfilled. Background of the novel. The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This novel published in 1925. The setting of the novel is 1920s America. The novel explores the theme of wealth, love, illusion, and the American dream. In the novel, the story narrated by Nick Carraway, who observed the tragic love story between J. Gatsby and Daisy Buchanan. This novel highlights the excesses of roaring 20s and critics materialism. Background of the novel The Sun Also Rises, written by Ernest Hemingway. This novel published in 1926. The setting of the novel is post World War One Europe, the following in the lost generation, struggling with disillusionment. In this novel story narrated by Jack Burns, an American Vartana, who is in love with Lady Brett Ashley but cannot be with her due to his war injury. This novel explores the theme of alienations, unfulfilled love, and the consequences of war. Characterization. Daisy Buchanan is a wealthy, charming, but shallow and indecisive. She represents idealized love and the unattainable dream. She turned between Gatsby, who is idealized romance, and Tom, he is her security. Ultimately, chooses materials comfort over true passion.
while Lady Brett Ashley, she is beautiful, charmistic, and emotionally independent. She represents freedom yet remains emotionally restless. She loves Jack but cannot commit to him due to his journey in war. She engaging in affair but never finds fulfillment. Gatsby and Jack, the idealistic lovers. Gatsby devoted to Daisy. She's her as his dream. Gatsby builds his entire life around winning Daisy, while Jack deeply in love with Barrett, but cannot have her. Jack lives in quiet suffering because he knows he cannot have Barrett. Both men idealize these women even when reality contradicts their fantasies. Gatsby and Jack are both romantic idealists, yet their love interest failed to meet their expectation. So, in the case of Gatsby's dream is built on illusion, while Jack's is hindered by reality. So, despite their devotion, they are unable to change the core of their relationships. Love and relationship. The theme of love as desire. Daisy's Buchanan's in the case of for Gatsby represents her dream like past, but she chooses Tom for security. Or Lady Brett Ashley turn between her true love with Jack and passion her affairs. Theme of commitment issues. In the case of Daisy, she wants to have a Gatsby but fear leaving Tom. Or Lady Brett Ashley avoid settling down when even offered stability. Impact on male protagonist. Gatsby's obsession with Daisy leads to his tragic downfall. Or Lady Brett Ashley, Jack remains emotionally wounded and unable to move on. The role of wealth. Daisy wealth defines her choices. Daisy's social class matter. She will never leave her privileged world. Or in the case of Lady Brett, wealth is not her priority, but freedom is. So Brett lives freely, moving between lovers but never settling. So both women experience complicated lives shaped by societal pursuits or personal fear. Daisy is unwilling to sacrifice her status for Gatsby, showing her attachment to privilege. Lady Brett, through appearing independent, is constantly searching for meaning through relationship. Gender and societal expectation. Women were gaining independence, but true freedom was still elusive. Daisy is conformed while Barrett rebels. So both struggle with balancing societal expectation with personal desires. Daisy represents the traditional dependent women, while Barrett embodies the new woman of 1920s. Yet both are ultimately unsatisfied with their choices. Neither is truly free. Daisy remains trapped in privilege, Barrett in emotionally instability. Symbolism and theme. Uh, Theme of materialism was love. In the case of Daisy, she chooses wealth and comfort lover Gatsby's love. So, in the case of Lady Brett, she values emotional excitement but remains unsatisfied. Social expectation, and in the case of Daisy, she conforms to the role of a rich wife despite personal conflicts. So, in the case of Lady Brett, defines traditional female roles, but she's still emotionally trapped. Illusion was reality. Gatsby sees her as a dream, but she is flawed on ordinary. Jack idealized her, but she will never fully commit to him. Identity and morality. Daisy's affair with Gatsby, yet she stayed with Tom, and Lady Brett moves between lovers, including John and Romeo, both engaging in relationships that leads to turmoil. Daisy's betrayal in passive, while Lady Brett's is deliberate but emotionally complex. Neither finds true happiness in their romantic enlightenment, their moral dilemmas highlighting their emotional struggle and conflicts with societal expectation. In my conclusion, Daisy and Barrett are products of their times. Daisy is roaring 20 societal who cannot escape materialism, and Lady Barrett is a lost generation icon struggling with love and freedom. So both women challenging traditional femininity, yet neither find true happiness. So their relationship with Gatsby and Jack reflect larger societal critics, the American dream and post-war disillusionment. These are my references, and thank you. If you guys have any question, you feel free to ask.
Okay, my question is, which character Daisy and Brett will be more likely to survive in the today's society?
From my perspective, Lady Brett is like survive in today's society because she is more independent and adaptable rather than Daisy. In the case of Daisy, she is rely on wealth, and that's why she might not protect from modern times.
My question is, why do Gatsby and Jack love Daisy and Brett despite their flaws?
Both are despite their love, because both are more connected with their loves. In the case of Gatsby, he sees Daisy as his dream. That's why he ignoring her his selfishness. And in the case of Jack, he loves Lady Barrett, and both their deeply connection, despite their knowing connection with each other. So Jack knows she never commitment. That's why both are interested in it.
So hello everyone, I'm Jay Waghani, and today I will going to deal with the role of automobiles as symbol of status and carelessness in The Great Gatsby. Here are my academic details and presentation details. Table of contents. A research question: how does Fitzgerald use automobiles in The Great Gatsby to symbolize both social status and moral decay? And what do these symbols reveals about the values and consequences of 1920s American society? Hypothesis: in F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby automobiles function as a complex symbols that not only represent wealth and social identity but also serves as instruments of moral failure, recklessness, and eventual destruction in the 1920s society. Brief overview of The Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby is by F. Scott Fitzgerald, 1925, and setting in 1920s, Roaring 20s. It called Roaring 20s, and New York. Narrated by Nick Carraway, who was shift or moved to the neighbor as a neighbor of Gatsby in West Egg. Plot overview: J. Gatsby, a self-made in a novel, J. Gatsby, a self-made millionaire, and his pursuit, his loss, love, Daisy Buchanan, hosts extravagant parties to attract Daisy. He was a host most expensive parties to attract her his love Daisy. Now she is married to Tom Buchanan. The novel explores wealth, love, and American dreams. Like that themes ends in a tragedy, explores moral decay among the rich. At the end, J. Gatsby was die. Initially has mixed reviews, but gained acclaim in the 1950s. Now a mysterious of American literature inspired film and adaptation. Before in our class, we was also seen one adaptation of this book. Automobiles is a symbol of status in the Great Gatsby. I will explore in this theme that cars are not only as vehicles. In Fitzgerald's novel, cars symbolize wealth, social status, and identity, defining characters' positions in social hierarchy of the 1920s. I give example three cars from there. One is a new money, one is old money, and one is for poor. Gatsby's car, Rolls Royce, cream color, extravagant car, new money. It represent new money and desire to impress Daisy. It was a rich cream color, bright with a nickel, symbol of luxury, ambition, and tragic fate. This car was a symbol of luxury and a dream of Gatsby also. Tom Buchanan's car. His car was a blue coupe, and it represents old money and power, reflects inheritance, wealth, and dominance. Third one is George Wilson's Wicked, Bricked Ford. It was a dusty and broken down Ford. Poverty. It represents poverty and broken dreams, symbols of a lower class and hopelessness. Automobile and carelessness in The Great Gatsby. In The Great Gatsby, the way character driven reflects how they treat life and people. Fitzgerald uses automobile to symbolize carelessness, recklessness, and moral decay in the wealth society. Key characters and example. First is Jordan Baker. Left a borrowed car in rain and lied about it. Drives carelessly. It drives carelessly and cheat in golf. Like she was cheating in golf and not doing drive carelessly. Symbolize dishonest, careless attitude. She left a borrowed car out in the rain with the top down and then lied about it. Tom Buchanan he had an affair and crashed his car with another woman during his honeymoon. So that is represent that he is careless and also he is not good in a relationship. Daisy Buchanan, she was a very careless person. She kills Murtley in hit and run. Let's Gatsby take the blame and show not guilt. She thought it would steady her to drive. Cars as a death symbol. Before accident, the car was a dream of a Great Gatsby or a Gatsby. After that, Gatsby's car become yellow car and becomes the death car after Matley's accident. The car that symbolized wealth become a symbol of tragedy. The glorious cream-colored car transformed into a death car. In Gatsby's world, careless drive equals careless living. Fitzgerald using automobiles to show how the rich avoid responsibility and how their recklessness destroy lives. The fatal accident, consequences of recklessness in The Great Gatsby. In Great Gatsby, Daisy Buchanan's reckless drive leads to Martley Vincent's death. Highlights theme of irresponsibility and moral decay among the wealthy elite. This event triggers a tragic chain reaction, culminating in the death of J. Gatsby, George Wilson. Key points: Daisy's recklessness. While driving Gatsby's yellow car, Daisy streak kills Martley Wilson. Instead of stopping, she speed away, embodying the carelessness prevailing among the uh, affluent character. Tom's deceptions. Tom Buchanan misled uh, George Wilson into believing that Gatsby was both Martley lover and her killer, deflecting suspicions of from himself and Daisy. Gatsby's tragic end, misguiding by Tom's decides. George Wilson seek engage and fatal shoots Gatsby before taking his own life. The fatal accident underscores the destructive consequence of the character's recklessness and moral negligence, leading to invisible tragedies. The value of ashes, industrialization, and moral decay. As we know that the valley is not only symbol, only setting. It is in between old monies areas. The valley of ashes is the Great Gatsby, symbolize the destructive efforts of industrialization, economic inequality, and moral decay. It lies between the glittering worlds of East Egg and New York City, exposing the cost of wealth and progress. Industrial waste and poverty describes as a grotesque gardens where ashes grow like wheat. Represents the environmental and social ruin causes by unregulated industry. The dehumanization of the poor. Workers like George Wilson's live in a grey, lifeless environment. They are portrayed as ash gray men, ghost-like and forgotten. In the ashes, there are a person who are uh, uh, known as the ghost-like persons and also known as ash gray men. While the rich enjoy luxury, the valley shows the hidden suffering beneath, reflects the collapse of spiritual and social values in materialistic society. This valley is reflects another side of American dream, illusion of American dream. As I say that this really valley is also signifies another side of American dream. The valley contrasts the dream of success with the harsh reality for the poor. Not everyone can escape poverty or reach the glamorous life of the elite. That means from American dream, everyone cannot become a rich. Ashes grows like wheat into ridge and hills and a grotesque garden. Fitzgerald uses the valley of ashes to criticize a world that values money or morality, revealing the human cost of wealth and ambition. Automobile as instruments of destruction in The Great Gatsby. Fitzgerald uses automobiles not just for transportations but as a symbol of destruction, reflecting the moral carelessness, material obsession, and social decay of the jazz age. Um, Key points: Gatsby's yellow car, once a symbol of luxury and hope, it becomes the death car after uh, Myrtle Wilton's hit and run. The color shift from cream to yellow. As I mentioned it before, that color is become like yellow. Symbolize the fading of a dream and the rise of corruption. Daisy's recklessness drives Gatsby's car and hit Martley and fills the scene. Let's Gatsby take the blame, showing emotional and moral irresponsibility. Careless drivers, uh, careless like Tom and Daisy and Jordan also was careless. Symbols of modern destruction. Scar represents the darker side of technology, fast, powerful, and deadly. The automobile interrupts the poster dreams, replacing beauty with speed and death. In Fitzgerald's world, the car becomes a tool of a downfall, driven not just over roads, but over value, dreams, and lives. Comparative analysis, car in 1920s versus today. The in The Great Gatsby, car symbolized as identity, status, and dreams. But today, cars connect you, reflects a personal branding, but the meanings have evolved with time, technology, and culture. Cars in the 1920s. Gatsby's custom car, flashy, rare, and luxurious, symbolize his desire uh, for a desire to uh, uh, Daisy and stand out or win Daisy. Okay. Ford mass product produced affordable car representing working class America. Uh, Car identity, owning the right car meant entering the elite class or showing ambition. Today's car today's status cars uh, as in Great Gatsby, there is a car like Rolls Royce, and that way, in today's time, luxury brands like Tesla, BMW, Ferrari still show class and wealth. Mass culture, most people drive affordable cars, but branding matters more. Style, eco consciousness. Car lifestyle. Today's car represent teach civils environmental values or modern images. Whether in Gatsby's time or now, car reflects who we are and how we want other to see us. But while Gatsby's car was about fitting in with the Eliot, today's car often express how we stand out. Conclusion. In The Great Gatsby, automobiles are more than just vehicles. They symbolize wealth, status, recklessness, and destruction. Fitzgerald uses them to highlight the moral decay of the Jazz Age, where materialism overshadowed values. From Gatsby's extravagant Rolls Royce to Wilson's broken down Ford. Car defines social class and personal ambition. However, they also become instrument of carelessness, leading to tragic consciousness. Whether in the 1920s or today's car remain powerful symbols of identity and social standing, reflecting both dreams and danger in the changing world. Here are references. If you want more information, then you can take from my references. I will put it in upload it in SlideShare. Thank you. Now if you have any question, then you can ask.
Jay, my question is, how does Fitzgerald use weather to reflect emotions in Great Gatsby?
He, He's use weather like hot. It represent tension and angry. When Tom and Gatsby was doing arguments over Daisy. So at that time they both are anger and at that time there is hotter weather and also rain. It represents sadness. Like when Daisy was meet to Gatsby, there was a feelings like sadness, and they both are mixing their emotion and everything. And another is cold. It connected with Gatsby's death. When after Gatsby's death, there was a cold.
Jay, my question is, why is the Great Gatsby still relevant in today?
Because there is uh, themes like that poor and uh, rich, conflicts of poor and rich, and also it's defined American dream. This is also relevant today. That's why. And in the novel, there is a carelessness with wealth, but we cannot bring every time happiness. So that is also. And also Gatsby's dream was so Gatsby's dream is connected or related with this time so people's success. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Jyotime. Today I am dealing with my presentation topic Gatsby as a tragic hero. This is my personal information, table of contents, and research questions. How does J. Gatsby embody the characteristic of a tragic hero in The Great Gatsby, and what does his downfall reveal about the American dream and a hypothesis? J. Gatsby amplifies the traits of a tragic hero, though his idealism, tragic flow, means hamartia, and inevitable downfall, which ultimately critiques the untenability of the American dream. His relentless pursuit of an idealized past and blind faith in wealth as a means to happiness lead to his demise, illustrating the delusion and destructiveness of the American dream in modern society. Introduction to tragic hero definition. A tragic hero is typically the protagonist of the tragedy who possesses noble or heroic qualities, but it ultimately brought down by a fatal flaw or error in judgment. Their downfall often evokes a feeling of pity and fear in the audience, leading to a sense of catharsis. Aristotle influence. The philosopher Aristotle plays a crucial role in defining the tragic hero in his work, Poetics. The emphasizes the importance of the hero's flaw and the resulting tragic consequences. Example: Oedipus in Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, Hamlet in Shakespeare's Hamlet, Romeo in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Aristotle's key elements of a tragic hero, hamartia. This is the hero's error of that leads to their downfall. It is not necessarily a moral failing, but rather a mistake in judgment or a character weakness. Peripetia. Often his flaw is a hubris or excessive pride. This is a sudden shift in the hero's circumstances change from good fortune to bad. It's often a direct result of the hero's hamartia. Anagnosis. This is the moment when the heroes gain crucial awareness or understanding of their situation. Often this recognition comes to let the prevent the tragic outcome. Noble structure. Aristotle believed that a tragic hero should be a person of high standing, such as a king or a noble. In a noble, this high-ends the impact of her fall, and therefore evoking pity and fear. These heroes plight should Aristotle's analysis of the tragic hero primarily outlined in his poetics emphasize several key elements. Here a breakdown. Gatsby's noble qualities. J. Gatsby, the enigmatic protagonist of F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, possesses a complex blend of qualities, some of which can be considered noble. Romantic idealism. Gatsby's unwavering devotion to Daisy's Button and his persistent belief that he can recreate the past reveals the deep romantic idealism. He embodies the idea of pursuing dream even against possible odds. Self-made success. He rises from a humble beginning to achieve great wealth, demonstrating ambition and determination. Will his methods are questionable, his self-made success is a testament to his drive, loyalty and determination. Gatsby displays a strong sense of loyalty to his dream of being with Daisy. His dedication to this goal, however misguided, shows a powerful sense of purpose. Generosity. He throws lavish parties not for his own enjoyment, but in the hope of attracting Daisy's attention. This in a way shows off from the generosity, albeit one that is used as a tool. Hope. Gatsby embodies the American dream, and the hope is the that with enough hard work any goal is unattainable. Gatsby's tragic flaw means hamartia, obsessive idealization of the past. Gatsby's fundamental flaw is his unwavering belief that he can perfectly recreate the past. He is fixated on the idea is recapturing his lost love with Daisy exactly as it was 5 years prior. This delusion blinds him to the reality that times has moved on and Daisy, along with her circumstances, has changed. Romanticism. His romanticism vision of Daisy is so idealized that it bears a little resemblance to the real person. He attributes qualities to this navy causes him to not see the reality of his situation. His inability to accept reality. Gatsby's dream will driving him to great lengths also causes him to not able to accept the present. This flaw leads to his ultimate reveals of the fortune means peripetia. core meaning. It's a sudden and significant change in a character's situation. This shift is often unexpected and carries severe consequences. In tragic literature, this reversal is typically from a state of prosperity or happiness to one of adversity or suffering. Aristotle's perspective. In his Poetics, Aristotle emphasized the importance of peripety in creating a compelling tragedy. He saw it as a crucial element in evoking pity and fear in the audience. He also highlighted the connection between the reversal of fortune and the character's hamartia. Often, the flow is the direct cause of the reversal. Example in Oedipus Rex, Oedipus' rise to power and respect is reversed when he discovers his identity and the heroic crimes he has committed. In The Great Gatsby, Gatsby believes that he is about to obtain his dream of a life with Daisy is reversed by the confrontation with her husband Tom and then Gatsby's subsequent murder. In essence, the reversal fortune in a powerful dramatic device that underscores the fragility of human existence and the consequences of our actions. Recognition of the flow. Definition. Anagnosis refers to the point in the plot where the protagonist recognize their true nature, the nature of their situation or the nature of others. It's a moment of critical discovery. Often his recognition comes too late to avert the tragic consequences. Importance in tragedy. Its key elements in the emotional impact of tragedy. The hero's realization of their mistake or flaws heightens the sense of pity and the fear in the audience. It underscores the theme of human fallibility and the consequences of ignorance or flawed judgment. Connection to hamartia. Anagnosis is closely linked to hamartia. Anagnosis is the moment of truth where the hero's ignorance is replaced by knowledge, often with devastating results. Therefore, the recognition of the flaw is a critical piece of the tragic hero's journey, as it brings the full weight of their actions into stark belief. The moment of recognition often involves the hero understanding how their flaw has led to their downfall. The Falls of the Dreamers, tragic heroism in King Lear and Gatsby. Tragic hero characteristics. Aristotelian definition. A tragic hero is a typically of noble birth or a high standing. They possess a tragic flaw that leads to their downfall. They experience a reversal of fortune. They often achieve a moment of recognition or insight before their demise. They evoke pity and fear in the audience. King Lear. Lear is a king and embodies in the noble stature. His tragic flaw is his pride and his inability to accurately judge character. His decision to divide his kingdom based on flattery leads to his downfall. He suffers immense emotional and physical hardship. Lear does gain a level of self-awareness before his death. Gatsby. Gatsby, though not of noble birth, achieves a level of societal prominence. His tragic flaw is his obsessive idealism and his belief that he can recreate the past. His pursuit of Daisy and his illusion of the American dream lead to his destruction. His and comes from the result of mistaken identity and the false and fall out of the people he surrounded himself with. He is portrayed to have a form of nobility in his loyalty to his dream. common themes. The illusion of dreams. Both characters case illusions that ultimately crumble. The corrupting influence of power and wealth. Lear's power and Gatsby's wealth contribute to their tragic flaws. The nature of reality versus illusion. Both characters struggle to distinguish between their realized vision and the harsh realities of their situation. The consequences of flawed judgment. Both characters make critical errors in judgment that leads to their ruin. Gatsby's death and catharsis. The fall of the idealist. Gatsby's death represents the shattering of his idealist dreams, his relentless pursuit of the past, and his illusion of Daisy's perception ultimately lead to his destruction. This tragic and underscores the futility of clinging to unattainable illusions, the exposure of societal decay. Uh, Gatsby's demise also exposes the moral decay of the wealthy elite, the indifferent and uh, callousness of characters like Tom and Daisy, who bears indirect responsibility for his death, highlight the emptiness and corruption of their world. Conclusion. It's Gatsby, a tragic hero. Jay Gatsby fits the mold of a tragic hero, but with a modern twist. Will he lacks traditional nobility, his relentless pursuit of the American dream, and his idealized love for Daisy elevate him to a heroic status. His tragic flaw, his inability to let go of the past leads to his downfall, making his story both heartbreaking and provoking. Gatsby's tragedy reflects the illusion of success and the dangers of a blind ambition. Unlike classic tragic heroes who recognize their mistake, Gatsby dies still believing in his dream, making his fate even more tragic. Here are my references, and thank you. Now you are free and ask me a question.
Jyoti, my question is what symbolic elements in the Great Gatsby reinforce Gatsby's tragic nature?
Gatsby's story reflect highlighting materialism and social class divided, and the illusion of the social illusion of the social class, and he was down and he was downfall in the he was downfall in the and he was downfall in the only money, and he was with by he cannot buy his happiness and acceptance. And now second.
Jyoti, my question is, in what ways does Gatsby's story reflect societal issues of the 1920s?
In the reflect the societal issues in the Gatsby's time, he was very healthy, and Daisy and he was and he was very healthy and wealthy, and that time the social class and humanism in the that time. So this is for my side.
So good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm going to deal with the topic from word to the walls, how language reinforces classical distinction. Here is my academic information. Then there is a table of content. And here is my research question and hypothesis. So my research question is, how does particular word in literature reflect and reinforce class distinction, shaping social hierarchy and power dynamics? And my hypothesis is, in literature, a word is not just a means of communication, but a tool that reinforces a class barrier. The word used by character reflect their social status, either establishing dominance, creating exclusivity, or dehumanizing lower classes, ultimately maintain societal divisions. Here is an introduction. So the language not only communicate meaning but also reinforces social hierarchy. So as we all know that we find a class division from a story of Mahabharata and Ramayana, that there is a there were four class division like Kshatriya and Brahmin and Shudrak. In that way, in today also we have two classes according to the money status, that elite class and lower class. So in literature, words reflect class division and So in the Great Gatsby's old spot, Mark Gatsby's attempt to fit in with the elite, while hard time reduced worker to hands. Similarly, in 1984, Proles dehumanized the lower class. These examples show how language maintained class division in both fiction and reality. So I select three novel. One is Hard Time by Charles Dickens. Second is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and third one is 1984 by George Orwell. So let's begin with the Hard Time. So in Hard Time, we find one particular one hence that used for a middle class people. So the industrialistic like Mr. Boundbury and other people who are in power that use this word to show their economic sustainability. And this word used for factory workers, especially characters like Stephen Blackpool, who struggle against this dehumanization. The word ignore their personal identity, reduce them to tools of labor rather than people with emotional and lives. So here is some references from original text, that how elite class people treat the labor. They don't only say the hands, but he believe that they are not a human, and they are born to be as a worker. So here is one line: so many hundred hands in this mill, so many hundred hands in that, so many hundred horse steam power. So this line reflected how elite class treat labor. Then he had no station among the hands who could make speeches and carry on debates. So they believe that the lower class has no power to speak against power. Uh, and also this line, he meant to be clear of the town very early before the hands were in the streets. Then here is one passage from Josian Boundbury of Cape Town. So he believed that he has money, and he has a power to treat as he want two hands. Then second is the old spot in the Great Gatsby. It word majorly used by J. Gatsby, and she picked this word from Dane Cody, the wealthy yacht owner, who introduced him to the luxurious lifestyle. And this word mainly used for a people who have old money. So it is especially used with the Nick Carraway and Tom. And this word all sport used in novel around 45 times, and here we see that Gatsby used this word in very common terms, like to say good morning, good night, and also that I thought you knew all sport. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host. So he try to show his status, and also try to convey that what Tom and Nick. Then in the another quote, that don't you call me old sport. So Tom stop him to call him old sport. And last one is, look here, old sport, you don't make much money, do you? So here Gatsby try to realize them that there is not his money, because Tom and Nick have old money, uh, and Gatsby develop by his own self. And third one is a Prose in 1984. This novel written by George Orwell, and prole is used by a ruling party member like Goldsmith and O'Brien and Bigby, and for a working class citizen, particularly the proles in 1984. The term is meant to dehumanize them, stripping them of individuality, reducing them to a collective mass, reinforcing their powerlessness and lack of importance. So proles is basically come from a proletarian. It is a short form of proletarian, and here the proles is used in this novel around 47 times, and very first quote reflected the proles are not a human being, so they are treated like a tool, and they are not a human being to treat very well. And another quote by Winston, if there is a hope, wrote Winston, it lie in the prole. So we see in movie that Winston see the woman, and see that if there is a hope, then proles are make a civilization. Then the proles were naturally inferior, who must be kept in subjection like an animal by the application of a few simple rules. So elite class believe that proles are not born to rule, or not has any power. They are naturally born to be inferior. The proles are a human being, he said aloud. We are not a human. Then last is one, the dumb masses, whom we habitually refer to as the proles. So this quote reflected how people see the proles as the dumb masses. Then here is a comparison of all three novel. So first is a old sport. It used by Gatsby, a target to Nick and Tom, and his purpose to social acceptance and illusion of class. And words effect is highlight Gatsby's outsider status. Then hands from a hard time. It speak by upper class for factory workers, and its purpose is humanization and control, and reinforces workers' oppression. Then proles. It speak by party member for a lower class citizen. Its purpose is oppression, political subjugation, and maintain party dominance and suppress rebellion. So here is one example of one serial that was released in 2014. In particular serial Udan, it showed the word bandhua is referred to a bounded labor under the oppressive land order system, highlight class and social economic exploitation in rural India. The word reinforces a theme of slavery, power, imbalance, and lack of autonomy. And social linguistic insight is Bandhua reflect the India's long-standing feudal hierarchy, as noted in Udan, critic post-colonial India's continued struggle with systematic inequality. So here is a conclusion that that's how selected words reinforces a class distinction by shaping identity and power dynamics. As I mentioned earlier, that it keeps on continue from Mahabharata and Ramayana to 19th century in hard time, 20th century in old sport and 1984. Then in 21st century, the serial like Udan represent the conflict. So this is from my side. Here is a references, and now you are free to ask question.
My question is, how does language shape self-perception perceptions along different social classes?
So the particular language shape the self-deception. For example, Gatsby call Tom to all sport because he wants to show his wealth status, where his working class, his working place, his education, etc. So that's how language shape the self-perception.
Krishna, my question for you: can similar linguistic markers of class be found in contemporary politics and media?
Yes, we cannot say that properly remark as a social class, but some words like hustler and nepo kids that not show the lower class, but it try to mark one group that different from other. So thank you everyone.
Okay, so a very quick recap. We have to start the next session also. So in the last presentation, Krishna, it was a very good idea that you are talking about language, how it reinforces social hierarchies. The words like old sport or proles, how they are used. But you have to ground your observation in sociolinguistics and some articles where sociolinguists are talking about that. From there you have to begin. Then you can support this argument. Another one, some are the characters and others is just an expression. Like proles are characters there, and old sport is just an expression that is used. So how do you match that? That also you have to see. So it can support your argument in a better way also. Don't take just the word like bandhuva in one serial. That doesn't mean, because bandhuva is a word which is used in many contexts. If like old sport is a word specifically for Gatsby, but bandhuva cannot be the word specifically for only one program or serial, but it is not generally used. So that doesn't serve the very relevant purpose or give a proper example. Jyoti also did well with tragic hero. Good examples were given in this. Okay? One difference that you can see in both the things, the traditional idea of tragic hero is rooted in the philosophy of essentialism, where it was believed that the human nature is unchangeable, and so whatever is in the human nature, people cannot escape that. So their power comes from their basic nature. Their fall also emerges from that basic nature only. The opposite to essentialism goes into existentialism, where willpower becomes very important. So whatever you are, whoever you are, wherever you are born, whatever may be the traits of your basic human nature, you can change it. It is under your control. So that idea is driving modernist literature. So his tragic flow doesn't emerge from his essentialism. That is J. Gatsby's. Doesn't emerge like it happens in case of Shakespearean heroes or Greek heroes. There is a huge difference there. So this character's so childhood of J. Gatsby tells that he was very good. He was hardworking. But then he starts doing something wrong. He starts walking on a wrong path to achieve that success. So how come that change might come? That would never come in that idea, the ancient idea where people basic nature never changes. So there's this conflict of these two ideas, essentialism and existentialism. Essentialism, human natures can never change. Existentialism, it can change. Willpower is more important in this. Jai also presented well automobiles, another thing. He also used a good resource also. So articles were also well cited and from a good source it was taken. So driving to destruction with the rich and careless at the will. This was the source from which it was taken. So good that Gestor articles you are referring to. You can also connect with the relevance of in our times. Nowadays also lots of such careless driving is leading to accidents. And every month we get to know that some rich people in such cars, highly branded, very valuable, costly cars, and very young people are driving carelessly, and so many people are dying also. So this rich and careless at the wheel, at the driving wheel, is a very relevant point in today's time also. Parthiv presented on Great Gatsby. The slides were well prepared. American Dream concept was given. When you take a source from ChatGPT or you ask ChatGPT to give you source, when you pick up the link, you have to be very careful. Otherwise, it shows that the link was taken from this. ChatGPT supported in giving the link. I think I have closed that button. So that I not. So it shows that the source is taken from ChatGPT. So you have to be very careful when you show that. Maybe here it is. Last one it was. Yeah, this is DIVYA's one. Okay, we will see that. Okay, so see that. Anybody when you are taking the source, how you can remove that. KHUSHI MAKWANA on Gatsby as a symbolic novel. Okay. RUTVI also presented well, truth and misinformation and that. Okay. KHUSHI Goswami also did well. You cited this, the sun also rises. From who is the writer? I think you have not mentioned that in your references. So when you mention sun also rises, it did not showcase the name of the writer. DHRUVIKA also was well prepared slides with that. There was a good difference between among these three characters. Daisy, idealized but superficial. Martel Wilson is ambitious, but there is a tragic thing that happens to that. And Jordan Baker, independent but dishonest. So that was a good classification of the three women. DIVYA KRUPALI on Yeats' poem, okay. Prophetic Vision. Presented on Yeats' view of the future. you can come down to when you talk about future, that time it was quite good, but relevance in our times also can be brought into discussion. BHUMI also did well with Orlando Vita Sackville's presentation. Okay. KHUSHI RAVIYA, gender fluidity, also good presentation. Historical, mythical connection with Tiresias. Down the line, things were brought in. Okay. Slightly well-organized thing can be presented. KUMKUM also did well, but you did not cite well from your gesture things which you have put in the last part, but they were not found in the slides. TRUPTI also presented. You should ground your this observation in this work. Stephen Greenblatt has done a good work on fashion. So Renaissance self-fashioning. This work is what is more appropriate when you talk about fashion and how it tries to talk about gender in different ways. So this may give an argument for another one. In this case, when such things are referred to, Stephen Greenblatt tries to say that how there were no camera. So whatever we visualize is portrait making. Facilities, and people cannot do that. Today, camera has become very handy because of mobile phones, and everybody now can take their photographs. So when people study selfies, people also study this, how selfie is giving a very interesting power to people. Once upon a time in the history, that power was only with the rich people, that they can get their self photographed or painted. Now that power is with everybody. Now everybody can have their own photograph or their painting or their portraits. That all is a power with everybody now. But once upon a time, it was not so. So when we look back, we find that this speaks about rich class people. Now, can that be applied to the gender fluidity with Virginia Woolf is talking about, or the fashion of the third gender, other thing also? We can say that to a greater extent, whatever visual representation of gender fluidity that we see also belongs to a very rich class people. Their fashions, their makeup, their this clothes and other thing, it will be all celebrity people. So that is what Stephen Greenblatt becomes very interesting. Now there are poor people who are living that gender, but where are they? They are beggars. We'll see them on highways begging for money. They also are changing their gender, like their dressing and other thing. They also are wearing a makeup, but it's a different purpose altogether than what the celebrity people are doing. Crossover dressing, another thing that is done by film stars or such thing is a different thing. So in that way, that can be read or seen, that how still rich and super powerful people can get more freedom to express themselves in all this gender fluidity. Virginia Woolf also belonged to a higher class, and so that gives her more opportunity to deal with the space that is provided rather than the another one also. Bhargav's presentation was on cinematic one. Again, there also you need to see that what is your source, major source of a thing, from where, because in your citations you have not mentioned any such work where these cinematic things are connected with this. So there are this kind of works, cinematic and the Westland by Sean Dempsey. This is Orlando one, another one. Okay. So when you talk about this all filmmakers like Sergei Eisenstein or Bela Balzac or Andre Bazin, from where do you get to know about them? That needs to be presented. Otherwise, it seems that you asked to ChatGPT and it gave you something and then you prepared the slide. What you are supposed to do ideally is that you first go to the source, quality source, pick up good ideas from there, and then you can take help of generative AI to shape that idea in a proper order. Then you know what you are doing. You have read the original source from where the things are coming, and then you have modified with the help of generative AI. That is fine. But if you ask generative AI to give you ideas, and without going much deeper into those ideas, if you present yourself, then it will become superficial. It sounds good, but the connection is superficial. That it doesn't seem that how it is connected with everything in a much deeper way. That needs to be seen also. So how you use generative AI is very important. Whether you are using it to find good ideas, then after picking up an idea, you have to again go to articles. And then after, if you can find good source, good articles, good paragraphs, bring those articles back again, organize in some slide order. And then for rectification of language, you can again take help of generative AI. Another, you already have good ideas, you already got good articles, but you want to see that how a flow can be given to that, how a better flow. So if you got 5 articles and 5 ideas from this article you want to make in a presentation. So in that case, you can take the help of generative and say that organize this in a flow and then see whether it is okay or not. Are you happy with that flow? Are you satisfied? Then you use that, that flow of idea. So, but don't just make it a shortcut. Just ask whatever comes, pick up, and then let me present, where the presentation may sound good, but will remain shallow because you have not gone deep into those resources and not connected things very well also. Okay, so with this we end the session. Within 10-15 minutes, we'll start a new session.